Keep spawning culture. And we're live. And we're not live. Apparently, I can't hear myself at all. Can you guys hear me?
I hear you.
What the heck?
Can you hear me?
I don't know. Hold on, let me check this audio. I can't. It says it's working. Somebody in the chat tell me, can you hear me? Are we live? I don't know what I'm doing. Ow.
Well, did you
It
hear
says
that?
the mic is live. It is weird because I can't hear myself, and normally I can hear myself. So, we hear you. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys very much. That's weird because I'm not going to be able to hear Samantha done with it.
Really?
Yeah, apparently. You talk to the good people. I am going to work on this audio input capture really quick and speak.
Well, welcome.
I can hear you. Okay.
Nice.
Fixed it. I fixed it, y'all. I'm good at what I do. Hi, y'all. I'm Andrew Reed with Mossy Creek Mushrooms with the MushRune Cast. And love is in the air. This is my loverly partner in business and life, Samantha Reed.
Good job.
She likes it when I fix stuff.
I do.
She is indeed.
Sexy,
All right.
sexy.
Oh. Oh, fixing the stuff is the dirty sexy. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Hey guys, guess what I'm doing? I'm adding lion's mane to my liquid death. I bet you didn't know you could do that. Look at that.
I bet they did.
Bam. 2 shots. Because I'm a heavy hitter. Awesome. So guys, today it's just Sam and I. We got some cool stuff to talk about. I did forget to upload a couple of things, but that's okay. I can window capture them, so we're good. But we're going to talk about, I don't know, married with mushrooms. We're going to talk about, since tomorrow's Valentine's Day, some coupley kind of stuff. She's running. I don't hear the dog barking. Maxine. Sorry, guys, but we delayed the live stream. Oh, you're good. You can come back. BS26 has given me the best pin sets I've ever seen. Thanks so much, man. Thank you. Thank you for telling us all that, because hopefully that will get people to buy some more BS26. We just pulled 100 syringes of that. So
We did, and labeled them.
Yep.
That was the autoclave timer, by the way. So
That's why you jumped. I was like, I don't hear the
Sorry.
dog barking. If we don't cut the autoclave off, it will release pressure in like 10 minutes. It's weird. We got one of the early models that like is supposed to hold pressure, but it doesn't. But all the other ones after that will
purge everything all at once, and all the bags will bust. So
right, because the blocks will still be hot, plastic, and it'll stretch those out.
I am now extra trained toward that sound. So every time I hear it, I'm like, ninja sprint all the way to the autoclave. But yeah, it's kind of like a Sheldon and giving chocolates to
Penny.
a Penny. Yeah.
You have not Kevorkian. Dang it! And I'm going to fret the dogs.
Scarf.
Yeah, not Kevorkian scarf.
No, please no.
Powerman. No, I don't have turkey tail yet. I'm going to have to grow that out or collect it wild, and it's not wild season, so it's still going to be a while for me. Pavlovian. Thank you, Zap. Zap Bananigan, as opposed to Brannigan. You're the good
I
one.
like that. That's pretty funny.
Thank you, thank you, Steve. Yeah,
Very
Pavlov. Good afternoon, Earthlings. What's up? Oh yeah, I guess I should. I'm not with it today. I need to make sure that the chats go up. I got to click that button. Audience is building. How we're about? Okay, yeah, we're about half where I expect to be in the next few minutes. So we're obviously, like I said, going to talk a little bit about romance and mushrooms. Mushrooms are all about romance. You know, that's all that it is. I mean,
Isn't that all of life?
I mean, no.
Even Bambi.
No, well, yeah, Bambi, yeah, but mushrooms.
Twitter-pated.
For us, you know, the cultivators, we're literally selling mushroom romance. That's the mushroom. Well, they don't have genitalia, but it's the analog. So, but yeah, that's what the whole, you know, mycelium. We don't even see unless you're growing in clear bags or something. But most of the time, you don't see mycelium. You don't actually see the thallus, the body of the mushroom. You just see it going boo 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 boo, shooting its little sexual spores out. So, I mean, you know, that's it. So that's all it's all. As soon as it managed to leave the U.S., could you absolutely MP? I know exactly what you're talking about. Samantha and I were looking at it. Got your email. I just haven't had a chance to respond. So, but we're absolutely going to get you out. I saw that it was supposed to go to Germany, and for some reason got kicked back and didn't leave the U.S., which was weird.
Oh yeah,
what's up, Steven?
It sent it back. We actually just got that package probably a couple days ago, and I have since been in talks with the post office as to why that happened. So we have shipped all over the place.
We've shipped to Germany multiple times. I've never had an issue,
and we've never had that issue. So, and then the response was, frustratingly, that there wasn't enough postage. But I was like, you know what? You weigh it, and
we weighed it, and we
charges you the postage for the appropriate weight. I don't know. That was weird.
Yeah, exactly. Florida Man said, "Yeah, man. Yeah, Florida Man was involved." Yeah, for sure. So we're also going to talk a little bit about stuff that you can do with your mushroom skill set that isn't necessarily mushrooms. I mean, we'll talk about some other fungal stuff as well. I want to talk a little bit about Koji and my experience with it. I love working with Koji. Yeast isolation, things like that. I don't have a lot of good examples, so what we'll do is we'll peruse Google images and keep the safe search on.
I'm confused and amazed by Koji because Andrew has a few different types, and there's definitely one that smells very fruity and sweet, and I'm just like, how does this happen? So I know how it happens, but still.
Well, part of it's the temperature, and then part of it is the feedstock. So feeding it a starchy carbohydrate kind of thing makes it produce amylases, which break it down into their constituent parts. So basically break it down into sugars that then can be eaten. Yeah. Can be consumed. I talked to Kyle earlier today from Ikigai, and I'm trying to see if he'll come on next week and be the guest next week. So we'll see if we do that. Just to do, cool. Yeah, talk some mushroom breeding, futuristic projects, things like that. And then we're gonna talk today in particular. Like I said, we're gonna talk some. We're gonna interview each other, kind of thing. I guess we're gonna talk love and mushrooms and all kind of that good stuff. We also have a new sponsor today. Well, he's an old sponsor, but it's just a new sponsor video. Of course, we'll have our 20% off code later in the stream. So that works on any products, any mentorships, classes. It works on our mushroom extracts for those of you who want to consume more mushrooms but do not necessarily want to grow mushrooms. And we have, oh gosh, I want to talk about a yeast that I isolated last year and then brewed some homemade wine with. And not only did I brew homemade wine with it, but I grew out Koji on rice and then made a sake that was then brewed with this yeast that I isolated. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Ed Grand, what's up, baby? Aspergillus koji is a powerhouse genus for biochemicals and feedstocks. I do not doubt that. It's crazy how koji will you'll grow it on rice in your incubator, and it produces the most. You leave the office and you come back the next day. Like if I do it in the evening, leave and come back 12 hours later, the whole office, not just the lab, but the whole office and part of the warehouse will have this lovely, fruity, floral, sweet kind of scent to it. But then, my goodness, if you do some beans or something, that koji will produce the most, it hits you right here, like a good cheese or something. I'm salivating thinking about it. I once I coated mushrooms in a rice and koji powder, koji spores, and then incubated it. That smelled awful. Maybe should have done it longer, but Aspergillus is amazing. So, what's up, Nerd Nature? Yeah, let's grow mushrooms. Let's talk bioprospecting too. I mean, that's something that's very close, near, dear to my heart, actually. So, interestingly enough, actually, we can talk about this. Let me see. Boop, boop, boop. Go to my downloads. See if I can't find. Let me see if I can't do the window capture. Oh, I definitely need to close that program. If I don't close that program, it's going to eat up a bunch of
audio.
Well, you eat up a bunch of memory. Okay. So that is now sharing. So the question is, yeah, I know that you're sharing it. Okay, here we go. Bam. That is an interesting little fungus we've got growing. It is. Why will you not let me go back to the tab? There we go. Does that change, Samantha, when I do that? You'll have to give it a second. It should. Momentarily. Bam. Okay. So this is King Blue. You can see it right there to the left. King Blue ?1. That's because this is King Blue crossed with, I don't know. So, but what I will say is it produces so far. We planted it a little late, so we got some bits of the cluster that are before the pinning, but the pinning is coming in quite nice. So I can see this. These stems are so far like the best textured stems I have ever freaking come across. Interesting striation on the stipe, the stem as well, and obviously from the way that it's pinning, I'm expecting this to be a very, very, very heavy producer, which makes sense with King Blue. But who knows what its parentage is? I literally was teaching a mentorship and was like, boop, boop. Was like, what do I do?
Pushing it.
I need to teach mushroom breeding because I always teach mushroom breeding in the mentorship. And so I was like, what in the world am I going to do with this? I've got a spore print here. I don't know what it is. So I was like, you know what? I can tell it's an oyster. So I'm just going to breed this one to the King Blue spore print that I had. Because at that time, I did not have the huge catalog of spore prints that I've got now. So it was very, very interesting. And it's produced a mushroom that is just, I can't wait to eat it. I can't wait to eat it. It's a beautiful texture. So we'll see how that goes.
So the question mark, if you did it with the breeding program, would that have been maple?
Can you speak more into the mic or angle the mic towards where it's actually?
So the question mark on that was an unlabeled syringe. So if you did that with the breeding program during the mentorship, would that have been maple arch?
It was an unlabeled spore print, not a syringe.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a spore print that I had taken and then meant to label and didn't. Because you know how I am about notes. Yeah, Samantha's data. Andrew is, Do you still do the soak method with your extra DNA for spawn? When your process normally, do you still do the soak method extra DNA. Oh, with my extra DNA, the spit in the bucket. Oh my gosh, that took me a long time. That was my microbiota that I was working with. I was seasoning it. No, I don't. I don't really do that. That was really just to show people that. I mean, it does help. It does ferment, but you can add yeast to it. The natural yeast will work. I now we have it industrialized, I guess you could say. So like I can mass produce spawn bags, and we do it through our Thor bagger. So there's not. I'd have to spit in every bag, and who's going to do that? Plus, it's going. The sawdust, the oats, the water are all going in the bag at the same time. It's getting folded, immediately put in the sterilizer. So it was in part just to show people. Like, you have a lot of people, and especially back then in mycology, that were like really snooty, nose up. Everything had to be perfect, and I was trying to show people you don't have to live in a space station like environment to grow mushrooms. You can grow very much. I'm not going to say with low technique, or anything like that, but you can definitely grow, with lower technology. There's a lot of ways to do mushroom growing, even with semi-sterile technique. You'd have to do it a lot more outdoors that way. Indoors and in vitro brings a lot more danger from contamination than outdoor growing. But you guys get any snow? No, not yet. I think it's coming. It's getting chilly here.
We did get snow and then lots and lots of rain, and it's supposed to snow again, but we haven't gotten it yet. So,
yeah.
Depending on the time frame.
Yeah, we're supposed to be getting it. We'll see. It's not going to be bad. The worst part's the rain. The Hurricane Helene storm that hit, especially the county over. We got it way less worse than they did, but they got it bad. But they're expecting something like another 4 to 7 inches of rain very quickly, and people are already like, man, we don't even have everything cleaned up for the last storm, so who knows what's going to be. Greetings from Kentucky. Well, greetings from East Tennessee. Welcome, Dr. Salamander. Glad to have you with us. What's up, John?
It's always really neat to see where everybody's coming from. I get excited.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A local and far away. Like, it's just, I don't know, there's something special about.
Just love being joined by you guys.
It's true. Oh, and Mary Jo's on here. Did you get all your stuff, Mary? Because I know we were waiting on sugars and stuff for your order. So hopefully it shipped speedily.
It what?
It shipped out, like it traveled speedily.
Totally
like as soon as we got all the sugars in, I made what was it?
Yeah, we were waiting.
52 packages.
I had to order sugar from like 3 other sources, and then it all came in at once. So,
after being delayed
over and over and over again. So our Dr. Slurians. Now I've got plenty of it, but it was taking a little while to ship. So yeah, it looks like Black Pearl, the that new oyster. Yeah, I can't wait to trial it out. We'll see how it goes. Did not have high hopes for it. I just thought this will be something I'm going to throw in the grow room. That's why I've never grown. I've had this thing for like 2 or 3 years, just sitting in culture. And I was like, finally, I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna try it, and we'll see. I saw this paper about the varying chromosome lengths in Pleurotus. They mentioned bioprospecting, DDK, and a whole bunch of other stuff in this paper. DDK. I can't remember what D decaryotization. Gotcha. Interesting. I would love to see that paper. Alan says, hi from North Wales. Hello. North Wales. From East Tennessee. Molecular karyotype of the white rot fungus Pleurotus. Okay, you gave me the study right there. Can I copy this? I don't think I can copy this from the chat.
Surely you could.
No, I can't.
Really?
Yeah, I'm trying to click on it when all I can do is click on it and make it.
Could you screenshot it and have AI extract the text?
Yeah, but there we go. I'll definitely check that out, though. King Blue crossed with Black Pearl King? No, I don't think so. I don't think that it was crossed with Black Pearl. It is very unlikely. I don't grow a lot of Black Pearl. I do have one of the youngest cultures that I've come across. So when everyone else has started going crazy, I revived my old one. And what was funny is I actually got this from another farm that we bought out, and they just gave us their culture library as like a here you go. And so I was digging through, like doing a little archaeological dig through all the strains, and well, there was Black Pearl from like years ago, and I
think there was one from 2016 and one from 2014, and then
2014 was the one I pulled.
I think there was another one from 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
Ed said I sent the paper and an audio file from Notebook LM to your email. Sweet.
Aww.
Thank you.
That's sweet.
Who would win in a battle of wits between Mr. and Mrs. Mossy?
I do think it's funny that you're like, sweet, and then I'm like, oh, it's sweet.
Battle of wits. I guess it depends on what the game is. Like, when you say a battle of wits, what are we witting on, right? If we're having a witten, then...
Is it whittling?
That was...
Andrew and I feel like complement each other really well. And this kind of gets into sort of the description of the video where we're talking about like being married and running a business and being a couple working together in the business. And there's certain strengths that Andrew has that I just don't, that I'm really weak on. And then vice
she's stupid
versa.
Where I'm smart, and I'm smart where I'm stupid. I mean, where she's stupid.
Wow.
No, she's stupid where I'm smart. And I'm stupid where she's smart. There we go. Man, that really did not come out the way I meant it to.
Oh, goodness. But, yeah, and we've always kind of, I don't know, I feel like we've rubbed shoulders and run the roads. And with, like Andrew was in science club. I was as well. I won a trip to New York in Beta Club. And so, I mean, it's just kind of as far as like wits go, as here's book smarts and common sense and all that good jazz. And I think Andrew and I pair well together.
Yeah, for sure. That said, he's wanting to know what we would do against each other. So I would just squash her with my weighty brain. I don't know. I mean, it just depends on what we're doing. So we have like. Samantha sees things like she organizes things. I hate it, and so I think more than wit, our strongest variance is in motivations. What motivates me does not motivate her. What motivates her does not motivate me at all. I could care less whether I'm in trouble, and Samantha hates being in trouble. So
it's true.
Now, at the same time, I want people to like me. And Samantha doesn't give a shit if people like her. Which is kind of a weird variance. But Samantha likes security, and I like risk. I like excitement. Samantha likes calm. I mean, okay, that's fair. Because I like calm too at times, and you like excitement at times. But Samantha likes excitement in its place. I like excitement, especially when it's naughty, right? So... Samantha's like, there's a time and a place to take risk. And I'm like, the whole point of risk is that there's not a time and a place for it.
It's strategy and probability. And I think that you ought to hedge your bets. Like you ought to sit there and think, okay, well, this has a higher risk of success, therefore go with that one. But if it doesn't, then you don't take that risk because it would be silly.
Yeah, I suppose that. So, so to kind of give you an idea on these motivations and how things like work differently between us. I'm like, hey, Samantha, I'm overwhelmed. She's like, oh, dang. Okay, let's fix that. I'm like, cool. Hey, let's start this other project. And then I'm like, hey, Samantha, since I started this project and I'm really overwhelmed, how about you handle all the old project and I'm going to start this new project? And so that gets me in trouble. So
I do really like finishing things because it bothers me if they're started and then they're undone. There has to be. I think I get this from my grandmother because she will work furiously in order to complete something, and she actually won't start something unless she can complete it within the same day. Like I tried to teach her, but when she got to a certain age. As you do, she got into crocheting because she couldn't complete an entire quilt or an entire blanket all in one day. She stopped doing it. Yeah, she rubbed off on me, I feel like.
Yeah, she definitely did. You're basically Grandma Susie incarnate as a young person. For sure.
It's a compliment.
It is, for sure. Yeah, I love Grandma Susie. She, though you're way more adventurous than she is. So, to be fair,
Andrew
like,
starts things and I finish them.
It's true. Samantha's the finisher, for sure. Between us, and I have a rule for myself, and that is the most important part of a job is finishing it. The reason why I have that rule is because I'm awful at motivating myself to do so. So
I don't think that's necessarily true.
I used to be until I made that rule, and now I'm good at finishing. And I actually actively hold myself back from taking on too many projects. But speaking of projects, I have taken on a new affiliate.
This is partly my fault.
This is partly Samantha's fault. I'm now working with plant cell technology. I'm starting plant tissue culture. I've actually been working on it a little bit in the background. So what's cool is if you use code Mossy with these guys, you can get 10% off stuff. I think it even goes for their classes. But, their little bioreactor things, the biocoupler is something that I'm really like working with, playing around with. And I'm planning on cloning some really rare peppers this year and some other things. I'm going to work with sterile culture with plants, and we're going to do segments on that in the near future. But I just wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that anyone who's interested in it or anyone already into plant tissue culture, if you want to go here for chemicals, media, even the biocoupler thing. Some people like the biocoupler, some don't. The biotilt, I have no anything about that. I've requested more information on that. They're supposed to be coming back to me with that, but there's a lot of cool things. I want to work in part with some endangered plants that are really like heavily regulated here in Tennessee. So ginseng being one of them, ramps being another. That the ramps are being threatened pretty hardcore. So this is getting to combine my bioprospecting with a little bit of plant tissue culture.
So it's
I may or may not also try to clone a 400-something-year-old tree. We'll see. Because I think it'd be cool to have a little right here on the table, a little 400-year-old tree right here in the center of the table. But
well, and I've seen a lot of mushroom farmers that have also done microgreens, that have also done some other things, and it's not an entirely different project. Like you're not going to see us just like go on and swing another direction entirely. This does feed back into, like Andrew said, the bioprospecting, but also the collection of beneficial bacteria and the yeasts and funguses and everything else that we're already bringing into our library. So we're really, really excited about this. Do they make a wide mouth biocoupler?
I don't know yet. I'm going to talk to him about that, but it's just regular mouth right now, I think.
That is my only like constructive feedback is, as far as like mushroom farms go, so many of us use the wide mouth because they're easier to clean. You can actually fit more like the self-healing injector ports and all of that on top of the lid. Like it just makes more sense to have the wide mouth. But that would be cool if they could offer a wide mouth option.
Yeah.
Maybe we can help pioneer that.
Maybe, I don't know. So, I mean, and yeah, the biocouplers are pretty expensive, but I mean, the good news is they're autoclavable, reusable. You just get, a few. And if you want to order bulk, you just talk to them directly. But for a few of them, so the cool thing about this, guys, is that we don't necessarily have to do the biocoupler. That's a temporary immersion bioreactor. My plan is to take my aeration tech into the aerated plant tissue culture. So we'll be doing aeration of it so that they sit there and jostle, they don't drown, whatever. So we're getting to port some of the things that we're doing from mushroom culture over to plant tissue culture. And we get to take some of the things that we rock at, like the DIY aerated bioreactors, and we get to put that into use in a way that these guys have never seen. So the mushroom guys will be able to move in and wham, just really change things up. Because, yeah, plant tissue culture is stupid expensive in some ways. Hence the 10% off with my coupon code Mossy. The biocouplers, I bought a few to play with, but the real thing, I think, is going to be aeration. And I think that's going to be the real thing. So,
did you include the link to your... I mean, you did a really old video long ago about aeration tech.
I've not included a video, a link to that video, but I can go back and do so. I still need to go back and put all of my affiliate codes. I put the affiliate codes in the description of this one, but I need to put them in all of my previous videos because I've got new affiliates coming up. Plant Cell Tech is one of my new affiliates. I've got another one that's coming that I'm announcing on the 27th, so 2 weeks from now. I got a third affiliate that I just talked to today, and I had a phone meeting with like right before getting on here. That'll be more interesting to you actives growers.
And I'm working on one from the design side perspective, so I'm really excited maybe to bring them on. So,
wait, who's that?
Elementor.
Oh, Elementor, the website. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mary Jo Smiley, I happen to have one of those ozone lamps that supposedly takes care of mold spores and such in the home. It stinks, but I wonder if it used to help sanitize a still air box. Maybe. I mean, I would just bleach your still air box out, bleach it, and then walk away, let the fumes die down, and then go to work in it. No, I would not use it while I was in the room. Okay, you already got me. I had a good one lick long ago with a still box. Good luck long ago with the still box, but I wonder if this thing might help. Honestly, the bleach bombing is probably the best thing, but as soon as you can, flow hood upgrades will pay for themselves so fast. I'm a big fan of the still air box. I'm a big fan of the portable ones in particular, but even when I travel now, I carry in fact, I can see it right over there behind where your all's viewpoint. Got a little astronaut lifting weights on it, but that's my my little HEPA filter I got. So from Lab Rats.
Yeah, it's like a miniature.
Yeah, it's called the Nomad, and I got it from Lab Rats. So I use a small still air box, and those are a lot more affordable, and you can absolutely use that in a home setting or a laboratory setting. In fact, what some people do that I've seen is cut a hole in their still air box and put one of those small HEPA filters to where it's blowing air through, so that you constantly have clean. So you bleach it down, turn the HEPA filter on, it's blowing clean air through, and then while you're working in the handholds, you've got an environment. It's not laminar flow, but it is at least HEPA filtration. So it's at least a filtered air box. I propose a rap battle between Samantha and Andrew. I would win that. It depends. If we get to pre-write our rhymes, Samantha will use the AI to write her rhymes for me, and she'll probably win.
Probably not. No. If it were a rap battle, I would want to make sure that it was actually.
Well, if I wouldn't, I don't care if they're my words or not. As long as
I
crush you in defeat.
I won a lot of poetry contests in my day, so don't say that I'm going to just use AI.
Well, I'm not saying that you're gonna. I'm not saying that you're gonna. But I'm gonna crush you in if I any way I can. Automated. Yes, I did say it, but I didn't say it like that. But I'm quicker on my feet than Samantha is. I think Samantha,
especially when it comes to singing, and sometimes Andrew will just walk through the entire. Like, he'll go from the lab, walk all the way down here, and he'll just be singing the most absurd, crazy, hilarious thing ever. It'll be like what you're doing in the moment, like drinking coffee, and you'll have a whole ballad about it.
Just sitting here listening to Samantha talk. If she doesn't hurry up and stop, I'm gonna walk. That kind of thing.
Nice.
That kind of thing. Have you tried fruiting cauliflower? I have not, but I have seen them do it in China. Jake Howard, I think, of Mushroom Shop LLC, has he done cauliflower? I think he's done cauliflower. He's done tremella, at least. Yeah. But I don't know about...
Well, on the porcelain mushroom, and he's done quite a few.
Wow, he's done a lot. There's a... I can't talk about it yet. We'll talk about it later. I'm starting experiments with it now. MP, please let me know how it goes. I would love to know. Cauliflower mushrooms are something. I've still never eaten them. I found them one time before I knew what they were. Left them in the woods because they scared the crap out of me. This was like the first year. I found umbrella polypore and I found cauliflower mushrooms my first year mushroom hunting. I have never seen them since. Never. I've seen a hella amount of hens and all kinds of stuff on that, but yeah, just not those two. I've heard umbrella polypore is like a mushroom find of a lifetime. And my gosh, I wish, but that was before I was really into mushrooms. Like, I had just started getting into mushrooms. Like button smashed. Smash that like button. Thank you guys for, please hit that like button and subscribe. Throw me a subscribe. Even hit that notification bell for notifications when we're going to go live. I promise I won't spam it too much. Hey, everyone from Cheshire, England. Well, hello. Ooh, Heat and Aquatics. Man after my own heart. I love aquaculture. Aquaculture is one of my other great loves.
Yeah, I convinced Andrew to set up his tanks over there, so hopefully he'll get
Over there,
back into.
yeah. I mean, I'm building them into fruiting chambers for stuff. And, I've got an experiment going now with the wine cap growing through an old fish filter and stuff, and it's pretty cool. It's PQ. PQ. Hello from Oxford, UK. Man, well, I'm getting quite the English. The whole United Kingdom is going to be watching my show soon. Yep, I got them. Yeah, she said she got her cultures. Mary Jo Smiley did.
Hooray!
Whoop, whoop. I haven't got a live in a while. Welcome, Hollis. I'm glad to see you on. It has been a while since I've seen your name. Found your channel through Edward Grand. Man, apparently a bunch of people have found me through Ed. Ed's one of my best recruiters. Thank you, Ed. I'm sure he's probably still around. He puts me in the background sometimes. South Florida. Welcome from South Florida. Or welcome to, oh my gosh, South Florida. Welcome to East Tennessee. Andrew, tell us about bioreactors. Should the liquid medium be made nutritious, or is it better to make it poor but rich in nitrogen and carbohydrates so that the mycelium gains mass faster? I guess it would kind of depend on your end use, but my big thing is more nutritious. The basic recipe. Dr. Solarian's has other things in it to support healthy growth and to speed up growth, but the base recipe is 5 pounds corn dextrose, 4 pounds dark malt powder, and what's some others? But those two sugars. I'm going to explain the two sugars. Corn dextrose is one of the best sugars for gaining massive amounts of thallus, of bodily tissue for the mycelium. The malt is really nutritious and good for protecting your mushrooms against enzyme blindness. Dr. Lloyd Lung did this work back in the I think it was 50s, it may have been 60s. And he was really trying to figure out how to increase the psilocybin content of mycelium in liquid, because he was just wanting to harvest it, and pretty much didn't really have great results with that, but he found a lot of other interesting data doing that. So that's the big thing for me. I like nutritious. Anytime people ask me that, should I do this over, my thought is always nutrition. And then part of this comes from when I worked in aquaculture. The guy that I worked for, was an amazing fish breeder. So the genes were absolutely important. He had a wild collection program going. So the bioprospecting, I'm not original at all. I'm just copying what he did, just in mushrooms, I guess. But the big thing for him, in fact, what makes their company more money now, like they had these bright, beautiful anemone fish. So it was a saltwater hatchery worked in. And think Nemo, Dory, those kinds of fish. And they would bring them in here and they would feed them really, really well. So they would, they were really big on live foods. They were big on gut loading live foods. They have an algae farm now. So they grow a lot of their own specialty algae, ones they can't buy in bulk, to provide micronutrients. They gut load the rotifers and things like that they feed to the fish larvae. And then they have a highly nutritious, easy to digest, terrestrial based food source for their fish, and they now sell that feed. They make more money on their feed than they do anything, because even other companies' fish, which are more drab looking, do better in people's tanks because of the nutrition they're fed. The fish's colors are related in part due to genetics, but largely in part due to the nutrition they receive. The more better nutrition, the more brightly colored, which makes sense because sexual selection amongst fish is often on how brightly colored they are. So the more brightly colored the male is to attract a female, obviously the better food he's getting. The better genetic material she's going to have to work with, but also means he's good at getting food. Either the spot that he's picked was good, or the so that eye catching means something directly to them. That all of that is to say that I kind of learned that to me, nutrition is just so important. In part because what good does it do me to grow a massive amount of anemic mycelium, dump it on a solid medium, have it sit there for 2 or 3 days while it's trying to gear up to eat this nutritious food, to where it then rips into it,
Or
versus
potentially
being,
even relearn.
right. Yeah, it could be having to learn new pathways, new digestive pathways, because that's actually something really important about mycelium as well, is that they have to develop digestive pathways. So, versus giving it something really nutritious, the liquid culture can already have metabolite in it when you add it to your material, your medium. But also just being more nutritious means that it's got more fight into it. It's better able to produce. So, yep, Dr. Ed sent me. Black pearl grows well. I like black pearl a lot. It's a good eating mushroom, but it's just not my cup of tea. Shall we say? Evergrande. I was just going to bring up Notebook LM for those scientific papers. I need to get Notebook LM, I guess. Good afternoon from New York. Well, good afternoon, evening from East Tennessee. I've been taking MCM recent transcripts into a notebook so I can quickly find information in hours and hours of live stream. Super helpful. Using AI for that. I don't know if you are, but absolutely just use the AI to do transcript. I'm actually about to publish transcripts of many of my videos and these, but the AIs will rip through video to give you transcripts really cheaply. A good one to use is Descript, maybe Opus Clip. I get excited over burnt ends and a good local red amber beer. Hell yeah. I've got a deer roast in the crock pot right now. And like 2 pounds of king oysters cubed up in there, like 3 or 4 onions. It's like a French onion soup deer roast with highly seasoned. Oh my gosh, I just made myself so hungry. My stomach just grumbled.
And you threw some king oysters in there too.
That's what I just said. You must have been reading.
I was. I'm sorry. Thank you.
The biocouplers are hella expensive. Yeah, they absolutely are, which is why you need 10% off with code Mossy. Just saying.
Well, and the goal with all of this too is to be able to have a good ROI. Like it's if you can sit there and think about the things that would sell, even if it's not something you're particularly interested in. Like we've sold a lot of oysters when we first started because they were quick and they were fast and they had the highest return. And then later on, we got into the more difficult strains that we made a few mistakes on, but we learned and overcame, and then got into the breeding aspect of it. So everything has a start for sure, and sometimes you just sometimes it's a passion project too. Like an interesting thing that gives you fuel for the fire for other things you've been doing over and over for a while.
Oh, absolutely. So as far as like plant tissue culture goes, Donnie, one of the things I've been thinking about is, and I'm just going to quickly say this, and this is giving away, I guess, one of my secrets for the future, but I'd actually like to see people getting into this and working alongside me, is ramps and ginseng are both plants that are native to my area. They're highly sought after, overhunted, and endangered.
Yeah.
Highly regulated. So if you can take ginseng, imagine this, from the shoot, the little node they have right here, and you can get that node tissue, you grow it out in media to where you grow what's called callus tissue. You then take that callus tissue, dice it up, throw it in a bioreactor of some sort, and you allow this callus tissue to grow larger and larger till it's got some mass to it. And then you take that and put the rooting signaler to it, right? So now you get these little spheres floating around in your tanks, and the ginseng these little ginseng callus balls just grow out the roots, and then you can use that root tissue for extracts and such, or sell it as a product to help alleviate wild stocks. We can also clone those same things, produce shoots, and then sell those shoots so people can replant ginseng. The same thing with the ramps, except I'm thinking ramp caviar. You grow the callus tissue out. If it is at all a enjoyable texture, and has the flavor of ramps to it, that oniony, garlicky goodness. You could literally just grow tons and tons of little teeny tiny little balls, pull those out, reset the thing, and then
I said orblets.
Orblets. Yeah, sell little ramp orblets. So it's something that I think is really cool. And then you get to alleviate that. A, you get ramp tissue all year. B, we can help restock these things. Ramps already grow by clonal. They grow down at the base, kind of like, they're an allium, so they grow clonally by root. And then, so you can have people plant patches in their backyards, homes, which people here will. I'm not saying everyone across the nation will, but at least here. But you can take these same ideas for rare plants in your area and work the same thing. Is that what you were going to say?
We're already doing this with mushrooms. So we're going into the old growth forests. We're seeing maitake or oysters or whatever, golden enoki, whatever we're coming across. And instead of sitting there and just harvesting the whole thing, we're taking a small tissue sample and then we're bringing it back, cultivating it and growing hundreds of pounds, sharing those genetics with other farmers, and they're growing hundreds of pounds. And then that leaves more left behind for that to spore and create a greater patch, a larger patch. And then that has it has a positive impact on its environment. And then now we aren't stripping a piece of land, in order to feed ourselves. The cultivation aspect is such a beautiful thing. And so now you do it with the ramps and the ginseng and whatever else. There's so many other neat things that you can do. It just helps all the way down the line, all the way down the food chain, to be honest.
Absolutely. Let's see. Ed Grant said they are selling Decoromyces chrysospermos, witch's butter in the store here now. Might be a good thing to look into the U.S. market. Kind of something for me. I like it. I harvest it wild and I add it to soups, because it has kind of like no flavor. It's just texture. It's just a little pop as you're eating it.
So Andrew not just made. In fact, he made it long ago. So we had all those peppers out front. We've got videos. And in fact, we would have people over and they would come grab a CSA. I would just throw peppers in there for free. And so it's what we ended up doing is we would eat it every chance we had, give it away to customers every chance we had. Anyone who came to visit, and family members, businesses that are also, neighbors here. And so it just, it's like it was like the curse of the zucchini, right? Where you have a patch of zucchini and it just keeps going, and you're like, "Here you go, friend." And before you know it, everyone's sick of zucchini. But we still had so much left, and so Andrew ended up fermenting it, and then we had a big bumper crop of, I think it was lion's mane, right? That you stuck in there, or was that dried enoki?
Oh, wait, what now?
So you took the peppers, fermented the peppers, but didn't you put mushrooms in there too?
I put maitake broth.
Oh.
So
okay.
I basically pressure cooked maitake in a jar, took the broth from it, and used that as
the liquid.
That I added salt to make the brine. So about half of it is maitake broth, and the other half is beet broth.
Nice. But it's a beautiful color. It smells really good. Andrew actually added that into the venison roast that we just had, which we're very lucky to have a lot of friends who are foragers that bring us cool stuff.
My best bioprospectors also hunt because they spend all the time in the woods, and they're happy if I give them mushrooms from the grow room, and I'm happy to trade mushrooms for deer all day long. So.
Yeah, and if they're out hunting, or if they don't come across mushrooms for that time being, then again, here's where the cultivation part saves the day, and you have consistency. So, but that I've been impressed by that fermentation that you did.
Thank you.
I thought it was really, really good.
I was really impressed with it. It was my first time making pepper sauce, and I always assume it's the first pancake idea. I always throw the first pancake away, but this stuff is so good. So amazingly good that I
think it's going to be a yearly tradition.
It definitely is. So all those peppers that I'm germinating in my incubator right now are they've got a home. I'm going to be growing as many peppers as I can. Oh, I need to get the.
I was telling Andrew
What
we
is that
gotta
one called again?
fry
The Japanese pepper that I like to frying. I can't remember the
shishito.
shishito. I'm planting the crap out of shishito this year.
Well, we had Zvarsky, we had shishito, we had
Lacia.
Lacia. We
I wasn't
had.
that impressed with the Lacias. They're sweet, but the Zvarsky's way more productive.
It is, but I liked this little dewdrop kind of. I don't know.
It had good meat.
We had quite a few pimentos.
Yeah. Basically, that pepper sauce will never be replicated because it was just every pepper we were growing at that time, with a couple of Scotch bonnets in each gallon, just to give it a little heat. Because I like the sweet pepper sauces a lot. Which, when I say sweet, I just mean sweet peppers. I don't add sugar to my sauce, but I do add sweetness with carrots. There were carrots added to that. Hola, Lady Mossy and Lord Gringo. Always good to hear and see you both. We hope you both play well in doing it. I am feeling a lot better. I am still. I was got a little sad last night because I was in the sauna and I still had that tickle in my lungs, and I was like, they're telling me I may never fully recover lung function, and it just sucks because I am rucking to try to do this, but on my rucks, I'll put that heavy weight in, and it's not that heavy. It's just like 50 pounds in a backpack. I used to carry 80, 90 pounds in the Marines. So sucks because I'm fat. But the other side of it is, like, just a few months ago, I could walk up a hill, no problem. And now I walk up a hill and I'm dying of breath. I may not be able to go backpacking like I used to. I may forever have to be slower at backpacking if I can backpack at all.
Slow and steady. Plus, that gives you ample time to collect samples.
Yeah.
Also, thank you, Cetus, for all the cordyceps tinctures that you sent. They have not gone to waste, and we've really appreciated them.
They have made a big difference. All the cordyceps people have sent me, including y'all's tincture, is
also
just been big.
I saw. Did you see her post recently where she was showing just that line of
all the trays she was harvesting?
Yeah, that heck of impressive.
Super beautiful.
That is something that I don't have a lot of personal experience with, is growing cordyceps, and it's always really neat to see the different ways, whether it's jars or trays or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Happy early Valentine's Day, Andrew and Samantha. Thank you, Northwoods. Happy
likewise.
Valentine's to you. Yeah. Hope Saint Valentine sticks you with his arrow, his love trident. I find them quite regularly here. The witch's butter. My farm is going to start growing Pioppino in a couple weeks. Do you recommend growing in vitro or through slits, side or top? Both. I like both. I am sampling, so in part, I think it depends on what you're growing, like Pioppino wise. So if you're growing Little Boy or Sword Belt or any of the other typical ones, you can do either one, and both will be productive. In vitro, in the bag, will probably be more productive, but a little slower. If you're growing Fat Man, like the big fat-bodied style, which I've never seen. There's only one other company I've ever seen that has one of these, which, by the way, I've put spores of that and Little Boy together over and over and over and over again. So we're going to see what we can do here. But I've also got Fat Man bred to itself a few times to see if I can't speed it up. But the cup culture, I've seen a lot of people do cup culture of it, liquid culture direct to bulk. And so I've got that going right now. And weirdly enough, Fat Man is the one ripping through. But you remember how thick that Fat Man LC was, too. It was really thick. So that could be part of it. But yeah, I mean, I think you can do successfully either way. You might get more blocks in your room doing a side fruit than you would do top fruit.
Was that a neglected jar, or was that one?
It was one that had been set aside for a while.
So
anyone who orders Fat Man right now is getting the super thick, super dense syringes. So
it does make me wonder, like, is that something that needs to be done to that one?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. With the new stir plates from Man of War, it's no problem. That one actually had a pellicle on it, and it no longer had a pellicle because the stir plate chewed it up.
Oh, that's where I was going with the whole I was like, whenever I was talking about the pepper sauce, I was like, there was a point I was trying to make. Mm-hmm. Whenever they mentioned the witch's jelly, It brought me to this is like the children's book. If you give a mouse a cookie, this is my brain constantly. So I just jump and flip from one thing to another. But we were talking about the pepper sauce, and then I was like, pepper jelly. Some of the best pepper jelly I've ever had was at Just Ripe, which was a restaurant whenever we used to go to the farmer's market. And that I miss that place so much. But the pepper jelly, what if you made like pepper, which is butter, pepper jelly? That'd be kind of cool. No? Nah, I don't think he likes it. We can try. You know. Come on now.
Are we still lifting weights tomorrow with Charles? Was Valentine's Day? Do you know? We'll find out. I saw the guy weightlifting in his icon. I tapped my maple tree, brought the sap up to 10%, pressure cooked it along with magical elixir. One with the knock it up and see what happens. Okay. That's interesting. I would definitely be interested in your results for sure.
Well, and the fact that you're tapping your own maple trees too.
Samantha really wants, like, we want to buy land. That's something that we've decided is we don't want to buy a house. I'm not interested in, but my mom legitimately asked me one time, like, don't you want a house? I'm like, no, I want land. I want land, and I want to build a pavilion on the land, and then I'll just live in an RV. In fact, I want some land in the desert. I want some land in like down on the coast. I want some land up here in the mountains. I want some land up north, some land in the Badlands. And then I basically just want to go from place to place and travel with a mobile lab, and then have like a lab tech here, you know, sorting through all the samples I send back and taking care of orders while I'm gone. But I fruit all my tubs floating. I fruit all my tubs floating in my fish tanks. Turkey tails and natives I fruit around my koi pond outside. I like that. I've got, if you check out my Instagram, I've got some pictures and video of spent blocks in my plant trays at the very beginning to act as filters. So,
yeah, we're slowly building out. I'd like to get a few more of the water tubs outside. I think that would be really neat.
Oh, absolutely. I hold a qualification in aquaculture and fish husbandry. Not many people have done this also. Yeah, aquaculture and mushrooms go hand in hand, I feel like. Bioprospecting, like we're the land between the lakes is what they call us, our county and stuff. And we find that some of the best bioprospecting for us is always near water sources, in particular through the summer. So we pretty much hunt waterways now. So we kayak, canoe, etc. I'm hoping to get a John boat this year at some point, and use that to access deeper and deeper islands. But I want that John boat because I want to get close to shore. So,
well, it's nice too because there's so many fitness apps now that you can just have on your phone, and it'll tell you the elevation that you're at. So not only are you kind of hunting waterways, but you're checking out that elevation, and more times out of not, like if you're within a certain parameter, you know you're going to find something specifically in a certain season.
Oh yeah.
I will say Aislinn and I went to Panther Creek, and we went running, and she saw a mushroom and brought me over to it, and she was like, "Hey Mom, check this out. Here's a mushroom." She was so proud of herself. Little did she know she stepped on a nest.
Oh,
and that was like a 5-minute mile for us. So we ran, and it was
yellow
literally
jacket nest. Yeah.
like I was smacking them off of her and brushing them off, and I told her to run, and they'd fly back on me and sting me. It was ridiculous. But
she hasn't asked to go running at the park again.
No, she's not.
She's all right running in the city now. Andrew, have you ever played with vermiculture? I think it'd be a nice way to process. Yes, absolutely. I have worm bins. I'm actually just going to do it in a big pile from now on. I think like a big run outside. That seems to be working better for me than trying to. We have too much fluctuation in temperature, so it gets too warm. The worms want to try to escape stuff. So if I'm planning on building a run out in the parking lot, or probably out back actually, but and just have that, and then to basically rent a bobcat every now and then when I need to turn it, and then turn it. But I'm just going to let worms get to it. Maybe I'll have to add some goodies to the maple sap next time. I just made an 8-ounce jar. Worm ranching, yeah. Like I'm big into. I love vermicomposting. Venison and mushroom, man, you guys are killing me. Devin said, "Yo, lunch tomorrow?" Nope, it's gonna be gone, Devin. Sorry, bud. This was obsession over banana tissue cultures for a while. It's too lazy to apply what I learned from it. I've seen the banana stuff, and I think it's fantastic. There's a lot of really cool banana culture going on. So, DeWitt Snyder, 1 year sober from alcohol. Thank you all for the mushroom knowledge. Also, thank you so much, Ed Grand. Hello, everyone from Washington State. Hello, Chris from East Tennessee. That's a great drain. Question, ever include sprouts with the mushrooms? They're very easy to grow, sometimes just in water, also on a salad. I do like watercress. I used to do a lot of, what's it called? Microgreens.
We do water celery.
We do water celery, water mint, water spinach, water chestnuts, duck potatoes.
Wapato.
Also known as wapato, yeah. Arrowhead root, which is basically just the Chinese version of wapato. And then lots of peppers.
We grew papyrus, which is really cool.
I miss papyrus. I need to get that going again.
Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit, just that star fluff, almost kind of like a dandelion seed puffball thing. It's kind of what it reminds me of. But yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, we're an hour in, which means it's time for a sponsor. So one moment, guys. We'll be right back. As soon as I find where the sponsorship video is. Let's do the
button.
Let's do the new one, shall we? Hey folks, welcome to another sponsorship for the MushRune Cast. We're always talking about dialing in your grow setup, and when it comes to humidity, there's one name we trust, House of Hydro. These foggers are an absolute game changer for mushroom cultivation. House of Hydro's ultrasonic humidifiers put out an incredibly fine, cool mist. So fine, in fact, that mycelium can actually uptake it straight from the air. That means better hydration, better growth, happier mushrooms, and better yields. And let me tell you, these things are way easier to vent around your op than setting up full-on plumbing pressure systems. No pipes, no hassle, just perfect humidity right where you need it. And when you're working with the best, you want the best support. John at House of Hydro takes care of his customers better than anyone in the game. If you ever need help, they've got you covered. And because House of Hydro is sponsoring the MushRune Cast, we've got a deal for you. Use code Mossy at checkout, and you'll get a full set worth of free replacement discs with your order. It's up to a $50 value. Get yourself a House of Hydro fogger. Your mushrooms will thank you. Keep spawning culture, y'all. Welcome back. We she's on a delay. Welcome back, guys. Glad to have you guys. Please support House of Hydro. I freaking love those guys. I love those humidity systems. Fell in love with the humidity systems long before I fell in love with them as people, but they are fantastic people as well. So you're not just supporting some corporation or buying through Amazon. You are supporting a family that love each other and have a family business. So,
well, and another couple. And one of the reasons why we sought out an alternative and found them was because we actually had a fire in our home.
Using one of the cheapy ultrasonics, we had a fire. I've never had a problem like that with House Hydro. And I've used a lot of
it. Wasn't even it wasn't an ultrasonic. It was Was it? Mm-hmm. I thought it was one of the elements.
No, it was one of the ultrasonics with the tanks on it.
I do remember the tank,
yep.
And it still had water in it.
Mm-hmm.
It blew my. We still didn't. It didn't make sense. But that was scary, and we were terrified. And poor Ben. And I woke up with smoke. I smelled it, woke up before anyone else, and then called down. And Ben opened his door, and like we were just like.
Ben said he woke up and saw flames.
Yeah,
or like a flicker, just a light flicker. He didn't see flames, and he opened his door, and there's fire. So, because Ben used to have a bedroom just outside the grow room. Like he would open his door, and right there would be the grow room. So.
Yeah, that was when everything was in the basement. So, I don't know. There's nothing like that to light a fire under your ear and to find an alternative that works really well. So, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've been using them, since 20...
House of Hydro? Something like 2014.
Yeah, years.
Years and years and years. So, and like anytime I've ever had a problem, those guys, use code Mossy. I do get a kickback from that, but Yeah, those guys kick butt.
And they make it
What
right.
really sold me
Yeah.
was one time I had one minor issue, and he just absolutely went over and beyond to make sure that it was taken care of. So with customer service like that, even if I got to pay a little extra, which usually you don't with them, and with 10% with the free discs, I mean you're getting quite the value off. But it, yeah, those guys are fantastic. So Code Mossy with House of Hydro. They support the show, and they are fantastic people. Says Western's glad to hear you are feeling better. I agree with Sam. Slow and steady, one step at a time. Going for a hike without weight does the body good. Yeah, so without weight, but with weight too. You know,
Maybe if we traded, like you went a little while with the weight, and then whenever it started getting a little too much, take it off, and then I can carry it, and then you would be able to take a few little, like take a stint without it, and you'd probably feel better having lost it.
Maybe. I will say Monday is my ruck day, and the last Monday I went up there. I went way longer this time, and then I got back to the shop because I keep all my weights here at the shop, and took that backpack off, and then took a step and thought I was going to fly off the planet. So, hello from KCMO, Kansas City, Missouri, is what I assume that means.
Wow.
Jim Lumpkins, happy Valentine's Day. Early Valentine's Day. Nice meeting you outside Gondolier a couple weeks ago. Nice meeting you too, Jim. Yeah, so Jim, we walk out of Gondolier, and this guy held the door open for us, Jim, obviously. And as I was walking, I was like, "Oh, thank you." And as I was walking by, he was like, "Was it like I love your all show, or I love your all's live show, or something?" I can't remember what it was. I was just like, "What?" And I was like,
it broke our world for a second because we're not accustomed to anyone local knowing that we do this. So.
Go to a mushroom festival, everyone knows who I am at this point. But go like in your hometown, you know, what is it? A prophet shall not be known in his own hometown. Not saying that I'm a prophet. Could be. You never know. Maybe the mushrooms call me. Maybe they speak to me. Never heard of bioprospecting until I started listening to you guys. Likely a newbie question, but how do you tell poisonous versus potential gourmet? Justin, the only way I can really answer this is there is no clear way. This is something that people ask a lot of times, but how do you tell a venomous snake from a non-venomous snake? The answer is you get familiar with it. How do you know that an apple or a tomato is not poisonous? It's experience, right? You've learned that, you were taught that. So it's the same way with mushrooms. There's a great book. I think it's Mushrooming Without Fear. It's not the most common mushrooms, but it is like a bunch of mushrooms that have no poisonous lookalikes. And you start there. iNaturalist is a good one. You never use iNaturalist to like go, oh, this is ID'd and done, but use it to point you at like a good ID guide. So like iNaturalist, it might suggest, you know, oh, this could be a enoki, and then you go look it up and you do the instructions through another guide. You go look at enoki. How do I identify enoki? You look it up. You find out that you've got deadly Gallerina, because those two look fairly similar. And a lot of times, like I have a hard time telling them apart in the wild other than spore printing. So usually I clone them and then I spore print it. And if I've got the poisonous one, out it goes. And if I've got the good one, then I keep the culture. But,
and there's appearance, there's smell, there's bruising, there's the going down to the shapes and colors of the spore prints.
Taste. Like, so the good news is with the senses taste, you can taste poisonous mushrooms as long as you don't swallow any of it.
Yeah, I have literally seen someone just kind of like identifying a rock. Like you just lick it just slightly to see what it is.
Was it Alan Rockefeller that licked the bleeding polypore or whatever? And he was like, whoa, it looks so bad, even though I know it's probably not. Maybe it wasn't Alan. Maybe it was somebody else.
I don't know.
I don't want to get Alan in trouble if it wasn't.
But this is one of the reasons why we enjoy the DNA testing and sending off stuff and then getting absolute confirmation and then building up a library that we know and trust and keeping it up to date from there. And so it's just kind of, definitely don't just eat anything.
Oh, yeah. Chris Hiles, Andrew, are you familiar with azomite? I am familiar with azomite clay, or maybe I think of bentonite clay. I've heard of azomite. People use it a lot for cordyceps culture, I think. I've been using it in my blocks with really good results. It's basically a natural rock type fertilizer that has tons of elements in it. So I'm familiar with it. I've not used it, not even in cordyceps culture. Anytime I've done cordyceps has actually been directly on insects. But but I have heard of it, and I think that it's good that people are playing with it and experimenting with it. I would love to see results, and I would love to play with it myself too. So,
Oh, that's cool. Like I just Googled it real quick, and there's like micronized and granulated, and
there's all kinds. It's
field grade, and
yeah, it's a hugely useful mineral in the agricultural field. I mentioned the stir plates from Man of War on my live earlier. Thank you, Ed. Ben will really appreciate that. So will Seth. I've also had people asking about mechanical maceration. Do you know if anyone sells bladed sharp stir bars that could chop up a dike? So, couple of things that I'm thinking of here. One, there's a Ninja blender that will attach to a wide mouth jar, and it is fully autoclavable. So I've seen people work with that. As far as a bladed sharp stir bar, Eric Askew made one that was supposed to be 3D printable with like an autoclavable dental 3D printing material. He deemed it too expensive and so never finished it. But I think Ben is eventually going to work on that. Basically, it was like a stir bar clicked into it. And I think Ben's going to work on something like that. Since Eric didn't want to put that out. But there's also the Myco mixer.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say?
Well, and that's made out of medical. I think it's medical grade.
It's medical grade stainless steel.
Yeah.
So it can be used for a lot of different applications. So as far as like a stir bar, I don't really know of anything like that for dicarions. I don't know if the Myco mixer will chop things up enough for the dicarions for de-dicarionization, which is what I assume you're going for. We would have to talk to Eric and find out. What is they have they released their
as the mycomixer.com. So you can check that out and look at it and see if it's something that
I think they're running a Kickstarter.
Yeah, they've not released it for purchase yet that I'm aware of. And that's kind of why, one of the reasons why we've not aired it too much or pushed it too much. Because we didn't want to, say, hey, here's this thing, and then you can't even get it.
Right. That's fair. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. So I like to just run at the mouth, and which is why it's important to have me sign NDAs if you don't want me sharing stuff. Because NDA, I remember. But like, there's like 3 or 4 things I want to talk about that Man of War is doing that is just absolutely gonna change things for us at least, and for a lot of you all. And I can't talk about any of it. So, like, legitimately, Ben came to me yesterday and I was like, "Please don't talk about this thing." And I was like, "Dang it, Ben! I just want to." And he's like, "Yeah, but I want to make sure I have product available for people."
Yeah, and that was kind of the thing with Eric too. Is like there for a little while, he's like, "Wait until the patent goes through. I don't want you to, go a little too early." And it's just infuriating because you're so excited and you think this thing is so cool, and you can't. And you want to support them, but then you can't. So you have to wait. It's infuriating.
I'm not good at waiting. I don't like being alone, and I don't like being wait. I am a fully. Keep my ADHD going, please. Supposedly, people have used blender tech to chop up dicarions, breed them, and isolate monocaryons. Ben's devices might be strong to do that with modified Ninja Stir Bar. They might be capable of doing that now because they shred. If you need a chopping, then maybe not. But these absolutely shred. They'll shred a pellicle. I've had a 2-inch pellicle that I just put. It literally cut a hole in the center of the pellicle, and then I had to move the jar around so it would continue to grip, and it ripped it apart and made the thickest, chunkiest LC I've ever had. So, howdy from Ohio, not growing mushrooms yet. Well, Bigfoot, we're going to change that. We're going to change that, buddy. Try to make regular Vin-off breathing exercises in your story reading. Yeah, that's I need to get into that more. I also need to not smoke, but I don't like edibles. So, wow, nice HOH commercial. Thank you very much. I made that today in less than an hour. It took me a long. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say less than an hour. I've been working on like bits of it, but
he had me record it, and Brody.
Yeah,
he wanted our middle son to throw it in his face, and poor Brody was like, "I don't want to hit you, Dad."
I was like, "I want it in my face." You're a little sissy boy. Pow. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't do that.
No.
He took it. We agree with you in using HOH. We had 2 HOH orders come in this week alone. I mean, I freaking love them, man. Like, I just can't get over that. People will tell me, like, why do I want to get those when I can buy the, like, even the cheap Chinese ones? Because the cheap Chinese ones can burn down your farm. That's why. You also won't get any customer service with them. Love the disc throw in the face. The extra disc shot killed me. Well, and if you guys noticed, I got hit in the face with a full set of replacement discs. I just want you to know that. I counted it. It was 4. And it absolutely hit me in the face. We only use a House of Hydro to hydrate our farm. Set aside, like I said, man, I'm absolutely into it. House of Hydro is the only way to go. Make sure you guys use code Mossy if you're getting House of Hydro. I never even bothered trying other options.
Because that's what gives you the free discs. Like,
First heard of House of Hydro through Eric Myers. I didn't know Eric even liked them. I thought he hated the Sonic disc ones. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else, but I thought that he liked the pressure systems. That said, if he's come around to House of Hydro, or if he was already involved with them, then great, because I agree with Eric Myers on that. Then that the House of Hydro is the way to go. He actually, so they have the Thor vacuum baggers. I mean, they're like, these are Thor baggers because they're customized for 110 here in the States. Then Man of War is the only company that's been able to get them custom made at wiring at the 110 setting. But he's using the vacuum lifts, if you guys have seen them. So if you're using the stand-up version of Thor, because all Thors can be stand-up or sit down depending on how you set it, because you can raise it or lower it. And then Eric Myers' is super tall baggers. Those vacuum lifts rock out. And Eric had just posted some of those Thor vacuum systems. And I was glad to see that was the case, because I've been thinking for a long time that they'd be perfect instead of that auger style system. That would be perfect to go with. But
for a short stack like me, like I'm 5'2" and 3/4.
Yeah.
And it's even.
Wait, 5 what?
You leave me alone.
Did you say 5'2"? 3/4.
Almost 5'3".
That's why. Have you done that little thing yet where the wife puts it up at holds it up to her husband's forehead to see what her husband sees? Have you put it at like the height to be like, oh, I look tiny? Because you should do that, because you look tiny. You look tiny.
But yeah, sometimes it's difficult. Like, I feel like I've got to take the 50-pound bag and then, hike it up, lift it, and stick it on my head and plop it up there in order to get it, But I mean, and I don't like using stools for stuff like that. I'm afraid I'm going to trip or fall. Yeah. So the vacuums make it really convenient, and I really enjoy this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If you want to become a prophet, I can send you a TTPVI swab set, pan cyans, greater than 3% alkaloids. You will definitely be communicating with the dog.
Oh my goodness.
We can talk later, Ed. No. Play it. I just bought an autoclave. No, I'm messing with you. So I just bought an autoclave. Do I still have to prehydrate my grain before I cook it in the autoclave the old-fashioned way by soaking and cooking? Or is there a way to do it in the autoclave? So, Chris, the way I do it is do a 50-50 sawdust and whole oats. And apparently the whole time I was doing this, someone else in my Discord, Mortua, David, was doing the same thing. And he labeled it Super Spawn. And I was like, oh, you're using my method. And he's like, your method? I made this method. I was like, no, you didn't. I made this method. We were like, oh, we made this method. And I was like, I like your name. Super Spawn it is. But it basically is my bagger can just dump whole oats and sawdust, so 50-50, and then 40% water hydration. And you let the sawdust swell up around the grains, and then you autoclave it. And when you autoclave it, it will force hydrate your oats. And that's what we've been doing.
So we were calling it oak and oat.
Oak and oat. Yep.
So oak and oat. Oh, man. Oak and oat.
That's
Super Spawn.
It's oak and oat. We also use that for our substrate. So what's your turnaround time on liquid culture? I did my first order last week and just wasn't sure what to expect. I know you guys are crazy busy. Usually the very next week. It's usually you get your order within a few days. We are a little backlogged right now. We've had a new employee that we're training. Samantha and I pulled like 200 syringes because people were waiting on Rocky Top. So one afternoon, I think it was Tuesday, we pulled 200 syringes, 100 of Rocky Top and 100 of the Mossy Creek Oyster, because the Mossy Creek Oyster is now available on liquid culture. It's now available. The Mossy Creek Oyster, our house oyster found on the creek here, is in liquid culture now. Sorry, I had to take that, Justin, that opportunity to plug myself because money. Food, family, shoes.
I will say that if you tacked on like some of the orders before were waiting on, some people ordered Dr. Solarians, and so
some people were waiting.
They're waiting on the powders.
Well, if he ordered last week, he wouldn't be waiting on that.
Those have pretty much all been sent out.
Yeah.
But if you're waiting on
culture plates or slants, but he did just say liquid culture. So liquid culture specifically. We don't have too much of a delay on. There were orders waiting on Rocky Top, which we got pulled this week, so they were shipped Monday. We also only ship on Mondays and Tuesdays. So if you ordered last week, then it'll be shipped this coming Monday, most likely, because that's what we do. In fact, your order may have already shipped. You might check your spam folder to make sure you're tracking, because sometimes the tracking numbers go to spam folders. But that's what I would check out with them.
I can check.
She can check. If you ordered under your name, Justin, there, she'll go ahead and check on it. We'll see. But how can I order? Through order what? The House of Hydro? I would go to houseofhydro.com. Order from us, bossycreekmushrooms.com. What are we asking? How can I order, bud? Because I would love to help you order whatever you're wanting to order. I just need to know what it is. You got to remember, there's a delay. So anytime you guys leave a comment to what I'm speaking about now, it's going to be like 2 minutes before I see it, and I'm going to completely forget what that is. What can be used instead of? I don't even know what that is. Colchicine? Give me a second. Colchicine. The medicine for treating inflammation and pain. It works by reducing inflammation caused by the crystal of uric acid that builds it. I don't know. Anti-inflammatory wise, there's a few mushrooms that are supposed to do that, but I can't give medical advice. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not entirely sure. If we're talking like herbally, I know a few anti-inflammatories like broadleaf and narrowleaf plantain, things like that. But again, I can't make any recommendations. You need to talk to your doctor and stuff before using any of that stuff. But I use broadleaf. I've made a broadleaf plantain extract that I then combined with mint, and I take that pretty regularly whenever I'm having inflammatory issues. Samantha used to use it when she was pregnant. That she put the leaves in her shoes to keep her feet from swelling while she was pregnant.
So we are waiting on that mother of pearl that you already inoculated that's growing in.
The liquid culture of mother of pearl.
All we have to do is draw it. So.
Sorry, Justin. Yeah, you're waiting on me to draw a jar. So I just got the extraction heads sterilized.
Yeah, and because of demand, Andrew and I have decided to do quite a bit at a time, and then push through one. And we'll, like Andrew said, we've been drawing 200 to 300 syringes in a sitting. Yeah.
Let's see. Bigfoot definitely needs to grow mushrooms. I agree, because of the name. It should just be Bigfoot mushrooms.
Or now, Bigfoot fungi, and it's going to look like a foot fungus.
There is already Shroom Squatch, so don't take that name. Because there's Sam, who is, I assume, Samuel, not a Samantha, but Sam from Shroom Squatch in Colorado, and he's got some pretty cool. It's like a post-rock, stoner rock kind of, that like face melty, Sasquatchy kind of look. That's pretty cool. In regards to hating the ultrasonic disc, you're probably thinking about Trad. Lol, he's all about the humidifan. Oh, I hate humidifans. Like, you lose so much of your grow space to humidifans. I assume the humidifans are the ones that have the sprayer and the fan blows. I've done so many consults where we've ripped those out and replaced them with ultrasonics, and people immediately have an increase in yield, in part due to the fact that they're no longer getting bacteria all over their mushrooms. Large drops spread bacteria. I need to come up with like a large drops something dops. You know what I mean? Like I need a rhyme that goes with that. We'll come up with something. Large drops bacterial blotch. How's that? Nah, okay, whatever. We'll come up with something later. And then the centrifuge foggers, I'm not a big fan of those two. They will work, but they have a splash zone.
Or large drops your crops.
Large drops your crops. Okay, I can do this. Large drops lower crops? No, I still like yours better.
Well, and I would imagine, because I remember, like, ever since we switched to the sonic humidifier, our kings don't have quite the crowns. Like they
not except these past ones, but that's because I turned the humidity up to 95%.
We also pressure washed with
and got some splashback and stuff on it. So like I definitely have
especially on the ceiling.
Did we pressure wash the ceiling this time? So if I am just autoclaving grain bags, I can do it one step with the autoclave, or do I need to prehydrate the oats? No. Don't prehydrate them. Just dry whole oats, sawdust, liquid, fold, throw in your sterilizer. Hi there. Is this live now, please? Yes, Adrian, it is. We are live. You asked that at 5:21, so it's been 4 minutes. So remember, people, I do have a delay. I personally like humidifans, but golden oyster spores love them more. I've just had a lot of people have problems with them. I'm not going to judge you for having it. Like people, there is no right way to grow mushrooms. There are a billion wrong ways, and we're all just trying to figure out how to do them wrong. And I'm not saying that you're doing it wrong. I'm just saying I'm doing it wrong. And so I just try every day to make it a little bit better. So there's no judgment here ever. That's one of the things that I hope sets me apart from some of the other big guys that I've seen. Who are a little bit more judgy. I try not to be judgy. I like the diversity. I want diversity in my grow room, and I want diversity of grow rooms and diversity of styles. And I'm going to do some experience with colchicine to make polyploids. I have some. Oh, okay. So this is in mushroom culture, not. Colchicine is used to create polyploidy. Gotcha. Is used for gout and to get rid of pesky spouses and neighbors. That's why it is hard to get pure. I'm extracting from good gout medicine tablets. Interesting. Okay. I just wasn't familiar with that. I had not ever worked with there. There's a lot of work on polyploids with orchids and Nepenthes, pitcher plants, and tissue
the pitcher
culture.
plants.
Samantha is really, like, I love predatory plants. She's really trying to get me to get into orchids in particular. Was Manowar named after the epic metal band of the same name? In part. So it was made by Ben Erickson and Bill... I can't remember Bill's last name.
Brumfield?
Bill Brumfield left. Ben bought his shares, and then they, whatever their structure is now. But Bill was really into Manowar, the band. And Ben and I like it. I love Manowar now. So... there is some love for that, but it really was about the jellyfish, the Manowar jellyfish that dies and is basically is immortal. Yeah, if you look at the logo, it's gears with jellyfish limbs coming out of them. And the whole point was that it is about that renewal, as far as I know, the changing yourself and the living on kind of thing. The innovative, this thing is innovative. It will literally innovate to continue living. So, what site do I... Bud, we seem to be having a problem. What site do I owe mushrooms? If you want to order mushrooms, like fresh mushrooms, we don't ship fresh mushrooms. So if you want to order them to come do a local pickup, you just have to call the shop. So... because that's how we do it, is usually there by the shop. So, let's see. Wonderful. I'm in the UK and just inoculated some 5-pound masters mixed bags with your blue king oysters. Any tips for success, please? Many thanks. Let's see. So one is to make sure to swing your humidity. King blue is more blotch prone than a lot of others. It's a powerhouse of a mushroom, but you got to have your bacterial game down. So really the big thing is to have your humidity go low. Mine goes down to about 65% relative humidity, and then you can swing it back up to 95, and then just have it kind of ebb and flow so you get that dry out period.
And we clean our room every week, but if we're going to plant king blues, then I'll actually go in and I'll do an extra
spot clean,
and then I will break down the humidifier. We break it down anyway, but again, I will break in and detail detail scrub, soak it in a 5% bleach solution, and just really take my time on it before we grow king blues, because they are very blotch susceptible.
Yeah, they are. They, like I said, they're
be
powerhouse.
on top of it.
Well, heck, Joe Iovino of Cactus Hat down in Florida was saying that's like the only oyster he grows. He is basically just a powerhouse producer. I don't know what he does, how he does his sales, but he was talking about how he produces that one as his major weight producing mushroom.
And most people do.
Mm-hmm. It's a borg horse. It's a mortgage lifter, as they call it. But he grows that because even though, let's say, every now and then you'll have a week where your blotch spikes and it goes, your crop yield might go down. Every other week, he's like, I produce like way more poundage than I ever would growing some of the lighter oysters. And so he really just throws that one out because even when you have a bad week, all the other good weeks have made more than made up for it. So he just does his averages like that. It's funny how I can see your eyes. Where your face was hidden. Yeah. I need to angle the camera down maybe a little bit. A good strategy to make real interspecific hybrids is to create polyploids. The gametes will then be diploid and can mate more easily with other tetraploids, diploid gametes. Interesting. Would that be considered a part of protoplast fusion, or is that, like, I'm just now learning about protoplast fusion, Ed. Would that be kind of involved in that process? That's great. Thank you so much. Huge fan of you guys and everything you're doing for the community. Absolutely, Adrian. Thank you. Thank you very much. Polyploid breeding resolves some of the issues of mating specifics or mating species with different number of chromosomes. For example, Pleurotus with 11 chromosomes and Cubensis with 13. Just an idea. I asked one time, I literally asked Alan Rockefeller one time, like, hey, could you make a psilocybin containing oyster? And he's like, yeah, but why would you want to? They already make a yeast. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, and it's way easier. You play yeast out and go. I was like, dang. All right. That's fair. I was curious, like, how easy would it be? First time here, great information. Going to place an order. Absolutely, Bud. Thank you very much. MossyCreekMushrooms.com is our website. So if you want the best in genetics for the gourmets, LC premix, extracts, pretty soon we're going to be coming out with a Dr. Solurian's agar premix. So I'm pretty excited about that. Don't have a good name for that. It's not an elixir, right? Because it's not liquid. So we'll need Dr. Solurian's solid food cubes of magic. I don't know.
Wow.
That is not the name.
No.
That is definitely not the name. Samantha's going to make me use the AI to come up with a better name. Process question. When creating a new liquid culture, I understand best practice is to do an agar test. What would you suggest a new grower to do with good agar? Long-term storage, grain spun? So you're saying, like, once you get the liquid culture test and that tests good, you have this agar dish, what do I do with it? I usually just make spawn with it or whatever, but you can use that to, if it's clean, you can transfer a wedge to slant, and now you can slant it. In fact, I suggest when people get our liquid culture to throw some on agar, throw some in grain, throw some to LC, and make sure you get it captured in one way, some way, somehow. But really, and then slant it, and then you won't have to buy it again. Or you can, if you want to keep it forever. A lot of people don't like to keep libraries. They just want to grow. So what they do a lot of times is just order syringes as they need it. Because, like, even, if you're ordering a $30 syringe, you put that one $30 syringe into a quart jar of like 500 milliliters, you get 50 syringes out of it. So it's like really... a lot of people, they'll do that, and then they'll use those 50 up, and then they'll just order another master syringe from someone who takes care of their strains like we do. And go ahead.
Just, we've put out a lot of tutorial videos and stuff so that you guys can do that. And there's videos from 5 years ago that Andrew's produced that, just trying to make you as capable as you can possibly be so that you can be, clever with your strains. You bring them in and you can keep your own library, that kind of thing. Make you as capable as you can possibly be. Be the best you can be. What?
I can do now I can't do it at all. That. But then I can't do the other side. So
you have one-sided. Your facial muscles are stronger on one side than the others.
I guess I need more Benny Gesserit training. I guess. Something else I was going to say though, real quick, is that I know $30 is kind of expensive for a syringe. I mean, it's not bad. I don't think it's expensive, but you might think it's expensive. And if you think it's expensive, I have help for you. Save 20% with your discount code this week, MycoLove20. MycoLove20. Love is in the air. Love is in the grow room. Love is tomorrow. Love is everywhere.
Can they stack that with the 30% off of golds this week? Or
they can. If you buy, oh crap, golden oysters are on sale. I forgot.
That'd be 50%
I made
off.
way too much gold. I accidentally, Samantha said, hey, can you pull that Rocky Top? This was 2 weeks ago. And I was like, sure. And then I probably forgot and then pulled 200 syringes of golden oyster. And Samantha's like, Andrew, we already have 50 syringes of golden oyster in stock. And I was like, oh, dang it. So golden oysters on sale, 30% off. And you can stack 20% off. That's 50% off your golden oysters. Well, no, because it'll be 20% of the 30% off. It'll be 20% of $20. But anyways.
So spring cleaning.
Get your golds, guys. Get your golds while it's good. These are good golden oyster culture. It's the ones that we use here. It's the Mick Gold.
Ours is growing out right behind you.
Is it?
Yeah, it's because every time we do a lot number, we put it in an inventory and then we make a master and we grow it out ourselves as it's being shipped out. Before really it's being shipped out to everyone else, but our LC test confirmation is first, and then we go from there. But we try to stagger everything to where we see positive results before it gets to everybody else. But yeah.
Yep. So yeah, MycoLove20, save 20% off even further, and then get yourself some golden oysters and save 30% on that on top of the 20% discount. So guys, I don't know what we're doing. We're practically giving this stuff away. Get you some good genetics. 20% discount code MycoLove20. That's my random time to drop the code. If I keep doing it at the end of the show every time, everyone's just going to skip to the end, right? So, bam. Excuse me. Edward Grant. I feel weird calling you Edward. Most crops are polyploids: maize, bread, wheat, etc. Heterosis, hybrid vigor, etc. Yeah, my understanding is that like a lot of these crops developed this due to us constantly breeding them, kind of like in an inbreeding situation. So you can actually see through the archaeological record where people took these wild crops in, started growing them, and then they crashed, and thereby the human population crashed because the crops were so inbred. We kept planting them until they mutated, apparently, I guess, to polyploidy, to where they could be self-fertile. And then all of a sudden, bam, the yields started going back up because they were able to survive that. So pretty neat stuff. Did a mushroom growing demo for a Master Gardeners of Washington this spring. Excited to share like you guys do. Absolutely, Chris. That's excellent. Jackie used to do that a lot for us. I've not done one yet. I've been asked to do the Knoxville Mushroom Festival. Is happening this year, I think in May. Is that what Josiah said? Do you remember? And he's wanting me to give a talk. I'm thinking about doing one on bioprospecting there in a booth, but I think it's great. I think people should be sharing this stuff. We need to attract as many people as we can to this. Incidentally, we could have as many people doing micro biohacking, as I call it, the farming, micro farming, mushrooms, fungus, bacteria, yeasts, all kinds of stuff. Like, there's so many things we can do with this microbiology skill set, and then to industrialize the process. And teaching it is the only way we're going to get more people doing it. The more people that do it, the more stable this economy becomes for us as we develop. So
we've done a lot of spent substrate to the community gardens too, and we've had a few of the sweet ladies from the local garden club stop in and just out of curiosity, and I really need to get with them as well.
Do you guys ever consider sending LC to the UK? We have sent LC to the UK a few times, so you should just be able to order right through the website. Depending on what the shipping is, we might have to call you and then send you an additional PayPal invoice for international shipping. But otherwise, if it's affordable, we can do it. We usually just do free shipping, but we absolutely ship to Europe, the UK, I've shipped to Africa and Israel and Saudi Arabia and
The only problem we've
Mongolia,
had has been that
Indonesia.
one Germany one.
Did we ever ship to Thailand? How did the Thai people get our genetics?
We shipped to Thailand.
We did ship to Thailand. Okay. So, yep.
They also took an extra set with them on the plane. That was sock.
Sok Song Yun. I went by him one time. He was watching Samantha or somebody working at the table, and I tried to squeeze behind him. And whenever I tried to, he did not speak good English. And we were
I think he did pretty well.
I mean,
to
he
be
did.
honest,
He did.
considering
But he was supposed to bring his granddaughter to translate, so it was kind of hard to teach. But he got it. He got it for sure.
Hands-on learning.
But I would try to squeeze behind him, and then he just happened to step back right at that moment where he just ran right in my belly, and he turned around and went, whoa. And I went, I'm sorry, Sock. I said, I tried to squeeze by you real quick. And he went, oh, no, you big man. Big man. Big man. I was like, oh, thanks, man. Appreciate that. I am a big man. $30 isn't bad for good genetics, quality genetics. Absolutely. This is something I learned.
That's the way we feel about it.
Rabbit farming. I've seen people sheep farm. I've had friends that sheep farm. I've had friends that horse breed and dog breed and all this kind of stuff. The aquaculture. It always comes down to genetics. If your brood stock's not right, then nothing else is going to be down the right.
I've spent way more on daffodil bulbs, just like in tulips and.
The way I was put to me is for rabbit farming, a bad rabbit, like a rabbit with bad genetics, is going to usually eat more for less production, right? So rabbits with good genetics are bred to really produce on very little feed. And so it's going to cost you more to have bad genetics because you're not going to get the efficiencies you want. You're not going to like genetics are everything.
Order in a $30 syringe and learn. There's videos that we produce on making slants, agar, and liquid culture. Take that syringe, spread it across, and then turn around and put that into masters. And one 5-pound master can literally make 40 blocks, and then you get 2 pounds off of each of those blocks, and you sell it to farmers market and restaurants. It feeds your family. You can easily go and buy $30 worth of mushrooms at the grocery store and walk away with 4 or 5 pounds. It's and you can grow thousands of pounds instead. I don't know. It's just like a no-brainer to me personally, but.
Renee says, speaking of blotch on kings, I noticed that before the blotch starts to reveal itself, my crop smells like a gym pool that's been over-chlorinated. Is that smell the blotch or the mycelium? So the gym pool smell.
Yeah.
When you said gym, I was like, oh, stinky sweat. But no, you're saying like a pool of chlorinated. That is actually, from my understanding, oxidases. It is basically hydrogen peroxide. You know how hydrogen peroxide kind of smells like a pool. It's basically that. Like they produce these free radicals. It's a process called molecular drilling a lot of times, but in this case, it's a defense mechanism probably against the bacteria. Hericium in particular, I've noticed, will get produce a very strong, so strong a hydrogen peroxide kind of mix that it will strip the floor of every bit of grime, color, stain, etc. So what's the overly simplified explanation on getting a polyploid? At Nerd Nature, it's not simple. That is why you don't hear about it. It requires nuclear staining with acetocarmine or DAPI and a bunch of fancy stuff. I was going to say it's stuff that I've not worked with. So, and I probably won't for a while. I'm actually made a decision recently that I'm going to stop my breeding program for a while. I will still do a few offshoots, like the Fat Man that I'm working on, and finishing up some of these other breeding programs. But the bioprospecting has become so important and so near and dear to my heart that, and some of my best strains are wild ones. I mean, some of my best ones are also bred ones. But what I want to do is, at least for the next couple of years, really focus on getting you all bioprospecting, getting that sent to the Mycologium, getting good strains sent back out to you guys. And last year was bananas, and I didn't even start advertising. And now that I'm advertising, someone's sending me like a oyster from Texas, supposed to be. I've got other people sending me stuff. Our oyster season is just cut on for the winter oysters.
We found one yesterday.
Yeah, we
I
found.
saw where Josiah found one too.
Well, Josiah brought me 2 the day that he came here.
Aww.
Ben brought me 1, and then we found 1. So already in 1 week, basically, I've already had 4 oysters. I'm still not done growing out, cleaning up, and cold storing, cataloging all of my stuff from last year. And I want to do more bioprospecting, and I want to preserve these fungal genetics. I want to get them DNA tested. I want to get the citizen science angle going. I'm taking international stuff, like Jacob Wolf sent us a Hericium from Mongolia that I'm going to start selling here soon. We got a comb tooth from Colorado. We've got a blue oyster from Australia, a pink oyster from Australia, a blue oyster from Austria, one from France. So we're getting people sending us stuff in from all over the place. I want to catalog, store this stuff, and then over time make it available as we can grow the mycologium. And so it's really one of these things that's taking precedence. So the breeding stuff and my breeding education will probably slow down some, even though I think it's really important work. I'm going to trying to work with a couple of breeders. Maybe Jacob Howard will work with me. Maybe Kyle Obenberger. I don't remember how to say his last name exactly, but some of these guys that are into mushroom breeding, and see if I can't get some people working on that angle, because I've got some ideas for crosses that I want to do, but the time input, until I can get a lab tech really in here, I can't dedicate too much to it. So bioprospecting is going to be what I do, cataloging and pulling in the diverse gene strands from all kinds of wild stuff. Hope you were having a good day. I ordered some strains from you about a month ago, and I'm still waiting. Hope I didn't fall through the cracks. You did say a couple of shows ago that BS26 was behind. It is pulled. It is now, so your order will be going out. Like I said earlier on the show, we are a little bit behind, and BS26 and Rocky Top were 2 that we were waiting on. So we are now needing to pull Mother of Pearl for the next set of orders. But this whole polyploid breeding is interesting, but certainly beyond my skill set, things said. Yeah, Nerd Nature, if you wanted to start with some more stuff, like spore mass inoculation is a good way to go, spore streaking. There are a bunch of more primitive, what I would call peasant farming, stuff that's not necessarily lab intensive that you can do to start working with some mushroom breeding. So the breeding is really cool, and you can make it as complicated or as simple as you want. The testing of all those strains is really what it comes down to. So, hello, sir, ma'am. I'm from India. I'm planning on starting cultivation. I really love how all of you guys use master mix, but in India we don't have access for oak wood. Can we place any other? You can use all kinds of wood. Absolutely all kinds of wood. Straw. We used to use straw pellets that we got from India, I think. Originally, and then a facility opened up here in the States, which then burned down. So straw pellets are pretty much a thing of the past here for the next while. But straw works. You just need a carbon source of some sort. So some sort of lignous, if you're growing, wood-based mushrooms. I will say straw did not do great with the some of the specialties. So like black poplar, Hericium did okay, but not really. Hericium did like pine. So, I mean, you can grow on pine pellets. The pellets, in particular, if the pine are usable. I don't know about the raw wood. I wouldn't use the raw wood or raw sawdust. But you guys are going to have some hardwoods of some sort in India that you can use. So I would just look it up. Like if you're in the tropics, look up the tropical woods for mushroom cultivation. You can do subtropics. I don't know what range in India you are. India is a pretty expansive place. So just try to do something like that, I would think. But you can use softwoods too, and they work just fine. Peroxidases. Thank you. Peroxidases. You ever worry that someone might use your strains to develop their own strain and then make some competition? How do you make money on something you sell once and people can propagate forever? So, Chris, this is actually a pretty, you struck the heart a little bit.
In fact, people will buy our strains,
resell the same strain, turn around, create a liquiculture company, and then we will get their customers coming to us expecting replacements. People are like, I bought your King Blue. Oh, cool. How did you like it? Oh, it didn't work for me. Oh, no. blah blah blah, and we're talking, and I'm like, I just don't understand why it wouldn't work for them. It works so well for me. And then they'll be like, well, I got it from such and such. You didn't get it from me? No. Then why are you calling me wanting me to support? What's your strain? It is my strain until it goes into somebody else's hands.
Or they'll ask 4 or 5 different questions, troubleshooting, and kind of expect it. And of course, like every order somebody calls in, they're asking questions. Andrew and I try to do our best to answer, but sometimes, we try to cut the phone call off at 10 to 15 minutes. Like it gets to be a little too much. But they won't let us know until the end of it. Well, I didn't even get it from you. It's just like, well, thanks for that. I'm glad you got some information and quite a bit of my time there. But our goal is to put information out there, share as much as we know. That way other people don't make the mistakes that we've made that actually really hurt us. And the hope is that people respect that and honor that, just like we're trying to honor everyone else and just grow together. And we don't buy from other people and do that. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like pretty much everything that we have on our website, we've either created ourselves, or it's been given permission to us to sell, or we're just trying to, a project has been completely abandoned and dropped, and we have asked and asked and asked and asked.
The Rifle Creek Oyster is a good example where I wouldn't sell that for years until I couldn't find the people who got it. Like, I legitimately tried to call them and try to text them, try to message them, try to find any of their social media being active, that kind of thing. So, and
because of our reputation for that, we've had folks like Jacob Howard, who's doing awesome work in the field. He has sent us strains that he trusts us with, and that to me is a huge compliment. And vice versa, we've sent him strains.
I like how you say vice versa.
Was it supposed to be?
I don't know. I just always say vice versa, but you just say vice versa, and I'm just I don't know what's correct.
It supposed to be?
I don't know. I just like that you say it that way. She also says Hoover instead of hovering.
It is vice versa. Whoops. Latin phrase means other way around.
Battle of the wits. I'm going to lord this over you forever on Valentine's Day. No.
Hey, this is a common question. Is it vice versa or vice versa?
Maybe it's a regional thing. Maybe your Cornish family said it weird. So, Chris, the big thing really for me is in part that I can outbreed them, so I can keep strains going. And I will say that I didn't release a lot of stuff. I've got a lot of things that have not been released, and I didn't for a while because of fear of exactly that. I was trying to figure out a way to protect my strains before release. RDTN2 is one of those. RDTN2 is the best reishi strain I've ever come across. 45 days from inoculation to harvest. It just completely unreal how fast and big the yields are on that. And I was like, this is so incredible. This is going to change the reishi market, for extracts and stuff like that. This is so productive for so little effort that, I need to protect it. And that's not how you guys didn't build trust in me because I was a protectionist. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I'm going to keep a couple of things for myself, but for the most part, I want to get these things out there. So, basically, while I was sick, I had a bad fever dream while I was in the sauna, and some stuff came back to me from, a little experience I had. And it just really kind of took me to man, you just need to open back up. Just open back up. As you've closed off yourself, you've gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. You've gotten more stressed. You've fallen out of love with this stuff. And you're falling back in love with it. But, how much more would it be if you opened yourself back up and went back to that open source and went with it genetics wise as well, and just relied on your work? Open source is, you let the information out there, but you get paid for your work. So the idea is we take better care of our strains than most people do. We definitely take care of our strains better care of our strains than most liquid culture purveyors. And I don't mean to even put them down. It's just, I put a lot of time and research into making sure that my liquid culture, I get made fun of sometimes that my liquid culture is dark. It's amber colored, but I like that amber color because it's nutritious. I literally use it because it's nutritious. Now I've come across some stuff recently that needs a lot of testing, probably 3 or 4 or 5 years worth of testing, that I think will serve the same purpose and is ultra clear. But we don't know, like I can't count on it because it's untested and it's new. So, there's just these kinds of things. And so when it comes to breeding, I can stay ahead of people. I've got generations of work that unreleased that need to be tested and gone through the grow room. The bioprospecting, everyone who's breeding is working with the same old genetics over and over and over again, unless they get a mutation or something. So bioprospecting allows me to bring in novel genetic strands, stuff that like may have been bred out of commercial populations, stuff that may have never entered into commercial populations. The fungus has been treated very poorly. The genetic diversity in cubensis, for example, is abysmal. And so a lot of people these bringing wild stuff in is actually really good. But that's why you get all the strange shapes, right? It's because you've twisted the genetics down. So,
and something else too. This kind of comes back to I do feel quite protective because this is something that Andrew loves to do. I've seen the hours.
She's very protective of me.
Well, and my children and my family and people who are close to us and our parents and grandparents and so on and so forth. But like it's I've seen the hours that Andrew has put in, and it hurts me because ethically I wouldn't go and just take someone else's thing and just kind of run with it. But I also have to sit there and think and shift my mindset too that more people need to be doing this, and that we have created and other people have created remarkable relationships and friendships that have come to us through all of this, and I'm really grateful for those. And so it's just the community that's there. I love it. And how many people are doing it, I love it. And I guess it's just the taking it and reselling it at such a cheap rate. A lot of those $7 syringe folks are not there
gone
anymore.
Yeah.
And I know what $7 can buy.
The days of the $5 wedge are long behind us.
Yeah. Well, and what $5 and $7 means, like it's Andrew and I charge what we do because we're looking at the nutrition and we're looking at the long-term storage and we're looking at the time that's being put into taking care of the strain, and we're also looking at that a part of that money goes in to more research and more videos being made, and believe it or not, like YouTube doesn't
make us anything.
Give us any, like it just. In
fact, my entire channel is demonetized. So
yeah, you got to find ways in order to. We've sunk a lot of time and we've sunk a lot of effort into this, and one of the reasons why we keep going is because we do find it fascinating, we do find it interesting. We enjoy working together. We enjoy the people that we meet through this because it does seem to be a special type of person, and like.
I will say also, like, I used to fear by giving away my techniques, like, oh my gosh, what if the techniques are taken and then the other people start breeding and stuff. And I've noticed as I've started just sharing breeding methods, not everybody wants to do it. It's a lot of work. People don't realize how much work it is. But also, some people just don't get it. Like, it's not an intelligence thing. You can be highly intelligent, but there's an intuitive...
That's true.
There's an intuitive aspect to mushroom breeding that some people just have and some people don't, and that's no shame to the people that don't. You're just meant for something else, maybe, or maybe you have to work that much harder on the logic side of things to make up for that. But there are people who I'm like, I meet in life, and I'm just like, man, that person intuitively grasps it, like they just understand mushroom breeding. And I don't know. I can't even tell you how I visualize it because it's just it's a different kind of way of thinking. I can't tell you what makes me go, oh, that one, that's the one to pick. That one, oh, that one's the one to pick.
We've seen a lot of people come and go. This is not easy.
No,
by any means. Some people try it and then they give up because they get they get too frustrated. And that's something else that I've seen in Andrew, is that he sticks with it even when he's discouraged, and he'll sit there and be reflective. There's times when you've been discouraged and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then you'll turn around and be like, okay, I don't need to think
I'm
that
not
way.
done.
I don't need to think that way.
I have a rule that I don't make decisions when I'm depressed. Like or when I'm in an emotional state. If I cannot remove myself emotionally from the situation, I don't make the decision until I can calm down or level out or whatever. So that's just the way it goes. But I will say, so you can be afraid of it, but the truth of the matter is these things kind of come and go. Like, it was crazy. Everyone was selling liquid culture, and like Samantha said, even down to $7. Now I'm seeing people go the other way. Like Southwest, I think, is now charging $70 or $80 for theirs.
Well, when we started, plates were $1,000.
No, like 300 or 400.
But before that, they were quite a.
Maybe there were some. I don't ever remember seeing one for $1,000, but there might have been.
I remember seeing one for $1,000.
You've got a better memory, long-term memory than I do.
And then I saw them go to 500, and then I saw them go to 3, and then we sell our plates down at 50.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, in fact, I see here like Barney Rubble says any Tom, Dick, or Harry can start an LC company for very little investment, and that's true. That's very true. But then you have to think about marketing, SEO, reach, and then like, what do you trust that person? You trust that person who started it up on the cheap and took no time to educate themselves on culture care, those kinds of things. And so, it's one of those things that I think being authentic and open protects you some, Chris, even though it seems like that the more you open yourself up, the more you open yourself up to attack kind of thing. But strangely, it's like you open yourself up and it actually protects you. I've been more open about when I get emails. I no longer, I need to sound professional. You know what? No, fuck that. I am me, and I am professional. I'm good at my job, but I'm going to tell you, hey man, things didn't go well this week. I'm behind, or blah blah blah, whatever. Like, I'm just going to be communicative with people and stop trying to worry about how I look and just be who I am. And that same tack on business, I think, protects cultures. I've got no protections, no legal protections. And now when people buy cultures from me, there is a agreement that people agree to when they order to not resell these things. Right? Is that in place? Yeah. I think so. You have to check it to make sure that to check out or whatever. But, but if somebody buys a mushroom from you at farmer's market and they clone that, what's to protect your farm? How do you protect yourself from having another farm?
What comes around goes around. Like, if everyone practices this, then it's just like, no one's going to have the incentive to continue, honestly. But something.
Also persistence. Like the $7 a syringe, guys. Like, I saw my business drop considerably when they would buy and resell, and so what you do is you just persist. When you persist, you outlast those guys, because that's bad business to sell at $7 a syringe. The market, you don't get to determine what something's worth. It's the market that determines, and the market is you and I and 1,000 other people making collective, subconscious, or even conscious decisions. So,
and they're typically trend slingers. Like, they'll see a trend, like they'll sling it for a little while, and then they'll see the next one and they'll give up. And then
when our town a few years ago had like 10 coffee shops, and now there's 2. it's people always things come in waves. So I don't want to spend too much more time on that. But
one more thing. I know, I'm sorry, and I'll be really quick. A lot of the resellers will actually take our photos and post them, and they'll have King Blue, and it will actually be something else entirely, and they'll have the same picture on multiple things. Yeah. And so it's just, that's one of your first red flags. Just FYI.
Can I ask one last question, please? How many grams of? So I don't work in grams. I'm American, and we work in
Don't be snobby.
Your old system.
Wow.
I'm not being snobby. I actually like what they do, but he even said 10-pound master's blocks. Okay, well, I guess grams is part of whatever. But so how many grams of King Blue grain spawn would you add to a 10-pound master's mix block? I used to do 1 5-pound bag of spawn to 40 12-pound blocks. Now our standard would be like 1 5-pound bag to 20 12-pound blocks. But because I am experimenting with so many types, I might do like 1 5-pound bag to 4 or 8 12-pound bags.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I've got some
And
of these blocks.
condensated.
Some of these blocks are growing in. Yeah, really, the center is probably cooking. So I think you're right about bioprospecting being a better strategy for finding diversity. Mother Nature has a lot more time on her hands than us. I can't find my stuff in nature though. That's fair. I'm not. Yeah, no judgment again, Ed. But yeah, I think it's. I think bioprospecting is really important right now, in particular with culture change, urbanization, deforestation, blah 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 blah, all these things. And I'm not a huge, I'm a huge nature person, but I wouldn't consider myself like a tree hugger necessarily. But like I definitely think there's it's important to revere our natural spaces and protect them. I also think that. The Great Smoky Mountains, you didn't used to have to pay to go to that park. Our state parks here, you don't have to pay to go to yet. I didn't know that was a rare thing, but I'm noticing as time goes on, our access to natural spaces are starting to be limited and or charged for. And our natural space, like it's the rich know. I mean, who's buying up all the farmland right now? It's really, really rich people, right? Like I think Bill Gates is one of the largest purchasers of land right now, especially with waterways on it, water access. The rich know that money, the one thing money can't make more of is natural spaces, right? Like it's so, a lot of us think, oh, we want to get rich for whatever, so we can live a comfortable lifestyle. I don't want to get rich. If you made me rich tomorrow, I would start preserving natural spaces, and I might put a little place where I can park my RV there and kind of live in it and prospect it and plant new things and do food for us, that kind of stuff. But I got plenty of spores to work with. I'll stay in my lane. Yeah, polyploidy is an interesting thing, but it's a lot. I just realized I'm a peasant farmer. Hey, honestly, I look back at my peasant farming days and I miss them. That was some of the best eating of my life. That was probably when I had more time on my hands than I've ever had. It's probably my happiest I've ever been.
Well, and think of how many generations have said that, done that, and how many people have. There's been times when Andrew and I think that we've discovered something cool and neat and new, and then turn around and it's a book published. It's in a book published from the 1950s.
Yeah. Or 70s. The 70s, there's a lot of stuff from the 70s.
It's just a remake of what's kind of already been done with a new technological twist or something that's kind of modernized in some way.
Like the day I found out liquid culture was like a thing from the 1930s and 40s, like, dang, I love it.
And we're not the first to bioprospect.
No. In fact, you had the Victorian era. A lot of the house plants we have now came from those Victorian guys going out to jungles and bioprospecting plants.
And we're certainly not the first to do aeration tech, and we're not the first to to figure out dyes. And I gotta. Maybe I should go into that.
No, if you got a rabbit hole, go in the rabbit hole, baby.
I'm excited.
We just got to look at this. We got all these comments.
And I'll go. It can be another thing later.
Oh, it's time for a sponsor. I use softwood pellets and soy hulls, and oysters don't seem to mind the softwood. No, they don't. Pine, the horse bedding that you can get at like any Tractor Supply, that stuff works great. That's what Joe Iovino uses, and he produces oysters, Hericium, all kinds of stuff on it. So one moment, guys, while we hit a sponsor, and we'll be right back. What did we do last time? We did House of Hydro, so...
Introducing the future of mycology, Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery. This isn't your average culture mix. It's a revolution in a packet. Crafted for the dedicated cultivator seeking unparalleled growth. Experience the visual alchemy of this masterful brew. As you mix 10 grams with 500 milliliters of water, watch the solution transform into a rich, amber spectacle, the hallmark of a nutrient-dense sanctuary for your burgeoning mycelium. This is where vibrant color meets vibrant life, setting our elixir apart from the ordinary clear liquid cultures. Prepare to be captivated. Mix 10 grams of Dr. Silurian's elixir with 500 milliliters of water, add a stir bar for thorough integration, and sterilize the blend at 15 psi for 45 minutes. Once cooled, Introduce your favorite culture into this perfectly prepared, nutrient-rich environment. Watch in awe as the elixir works its magic, unveiling a mycelial masterpiece before your eyes. Choose Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery for a mycological adventure that's as visually enchanting as it is potent.
Welcome back. Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery. Get you some of that liquid premix.
It's so pretty.
I put a ton of research into it, like I said. I played around with a lot of stuff. Hey, Turd Farmer. Hey, guys, thanks as always for the shows. I didn't ask the last couple of shows, but I was wondering if my Chicken of the Woods K-Cups made it to you okay. I have never shipped them before. While she's gone, we'll hammer some of these out. They came out great. I have not transferred from them, so I assume the cultures are clean because they look clean. There was one of the cups had a slight vibration in it, I assume, because it the agar had flipped out a little bit. But things look good. I appreciate you sending that to me. I've got that, again, that's on my bioprospecting shelf, and it's like I said, I'm way behind. I've got a ton of Hen of the Woods and Chicken of the Woods to put back. So yours will be one of the first ones that gets in there, and I got to revive the Mother's Day Chicken of the Woods and a bunch of the others. But sugarcane baguette is a great replacement at Kumar. Anytime. Oh yeah, if accessible. At Chris Ells, they're called culture vultures. People who take someone else's work and flip it. Yeah, that is the term I've heard. And it's I mean, I just do it out of respect to not sell other people's stuff. But once it leaves my hands, I don't have control over it anymore. So what I focus on what I do have in control, and that's to be as best service to you guys I can be, best quality product that I can produce, and to make myself as useful in other ways, such as giving you information. Terrible that people aren't considerate of your time. On that note, do you guys do text? I find it less immediate as having to pick up the phone. Yes, we do text. Our shop number receives text and phone calls. And if you call or text the office line, it goes to both Samantha and the text goes to our email, and I can respond through that. But the phone calls go directly to Samantha, myself, her computer, and my computer. So we try to make sure that there's somebody.
A lot of dings going off all at once.
They're hard. Anything to consider if feeding spent mushroom blocks to chickens? Nothing that I know of. Pink oyster, from what I've heard, is one of the better ones to use as a livestock feed. But I've just heard that. I don't have any good data to back.
I have seen farms make a worm bin with the spent mushroom blocks, and then kind of like midway rotting down, they'll shovel it out into their chickens and stuff. I've seen people do, and we did bedding with it. What? Sorry.
I was just about to start it up, and Samantha does this thing where she thinks. I'm like 1, 2, 3, okay, and then she'll start. I'm like, what in the world?
I'm sorry.
They call them cold. It doesn't help that I'm ADHD, and so I'll even try to finish her sentences, and I'll see where she's going, and I'll be like, I've been there 5 minutes, baby. Just get to the next sentence. But I do that to everybody in my head. So they call them culture vultures in the cube world. I know vendors that sell greater than 300 liquid culture varieties, but haven't grown a single mushroom. They've never even germinated a spore.
Wow.
Yeah, that is more common than you might think. Well, not Ed. I mean, Ed obviously knows, but
I do feel like that's what makes us unique and really kind of further solidifies what we do is the fact that we breed it, grow it, share it, and have that community.
They'll burn in hell. Joking. We'll just keep making more. Learn to do your own spore and agar work. It will benefit you later. I agree with that. Have you ever grown an aniseed toadstool? It's a life goal. No, I haven't. There's so many to grow. Oh my gosh, there's so many things. Culture vultures love it. I don't hate them. No, I mean, I love the term. Though the vulture is our family bird, though, so I kind of hate calling them culture vultures because vultures are a bird to be respected and admired, but they're death eaters like the mushrooms, like us.
I think they're gross.
I mean, they are gross, but you married into a vulture family. So seeing some LC today, I'm going to have to trash. Oh, well, I wasted some water and have to clean a jar. Yeah, it's a little sugar water, man. What's important, the sugar water, the bioreactor, all that stuff's cheap. What's important is the work you put into it. The work of the technique, the culture, the genetics, all of that has the thing. The sugar water, let it go. Worth every penny. Oh man, I didn't get the notification. Replay crew. Brittany, I hate that you didn't join us at the beginning. Cannabis stems working good for growing mushrooms. Yes. So the only experience I have with that is that Seth sent me a bunch of hemp herds.
Oh my goodness.
We bagged them up. For only one thing, it makes a tarry mess that looks like a baby's diaper, like a used baby's diaper. So gross. But beyond that, the hemp herds smelled like weed. They smelled like marijuana. And when you put almost a full ton of wet hemp herds into a pasteurizer, and then you pasteurize it, you heat it.
You get the police department.
You get the police department on your doorstep because the overwhelming smell of weed filled this entire valley.
It was pretty horrible.
I came to work. I put them in the steamer. Came back to work the next morning. There were cops all over our op trying to figure out where in the world the smell was coming from. And I had to just go show them. And I was like, look, it's hemp herds. Here's the bags. Here's blah, blah, blah. You know, it's agricultural byproduct. You know, they're like, okay, well, that's fine. But I was like, never again. Feel I hit my quota for questions. No, you didn't. I'm farming you for content. If you're not producing content, you're a bad plant. No.
Andrew, wow.
You will be weeded. I feel I hit my quota for questions. So feel free to lurk, people. For questions, so this is the chat here. Can anyone point me in the direction to learn more about why Andrew marks some with master and what he might mark others? Mark what? What do you mean? Like the master's mix? I didn't come up with that name.
Right.
Justin, tell me, what do you really mean? I want to know. Do you know any place that sells gourmet mushroom spores? I want to grow some cultures from spore, but it seems like I need to buy LC and grow mushrooms to get the spores. Most of the time, you're going to have to produce them yourself. Sporeworks used to sell actives and gourmet spores. I don't know if they still do. I have no idea what strains they are. I can't comment on the quality of their gourmet spores or any spores. I've thought about it, but it's just something I've not done. Samantha actually suggested it to me, and I was like, really? Why don't I do that? I should teach breeding and then sell spores to other gourmet growers because I've got some fantastic strains. They've been great parent stock. So, I will eventually, but I need to get to the point that I have enough spores to sell, because right now I've just got my personal library. I got a whole drawer full of aluminum foil squares that I use. So it isn't fun when LC is contaminated. It isn't cheap either. That's why it's important to buy from a trusted vendor like Ed or Andrew. Thank you, Barney. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you called me trusted.
That said, I was hoping that maybe we could do some videos on how to clean up a culture.
Yeah.
Just in case.
So there's some really interesting ideas in selective substrates that I'm working on right now. Some things that I'm actually working on as a standard that people can do at home. So that they buy our liquid culture, they can immediately put some of that into liquid culture, but they could also put some into a self-selective substrate. When I say self-selective substrate, what I mean is a substrate that selects for certain species. So if you do 100% hardwood, many organisms have a very difficult time breaking this down. Bacteria, for example. So if you have, bacteria is our number one enemy in liquid culture. So if you have bacteria and it is in your liquid culture kind of sparsely throughout, you can inject that into a wood-based substrate, an entirely wood-based substrate, and then let it grow throughout that. And then, like, if you grow it on one end, let it grow to the other side. You inject here, let it grow, select for right here, pull it out. Should hopefully have no bacteria on it. I've cleaned up a lot of cultures doing this using wood. There's water agars. You can't use liquid culture there, but you can use go from agar to agar. There's some other stuff that I'm playing with that I don't really feel comfortable talking about yet because I haven't proved it yet, and so I'd hate to send some people down some rabbit holes or waste money that wouldn't work. But there's some really interesting work that we're doing in self-selective substrates. In fact, I had a really exciting breakthrough that I was coming to Samantha with. So pretty soon, hopefully, I'll release some new texts on cleaning up cultures. But
just with the Mycology, we've Andrew specifically, he's doing more of the transfers than anything, while I'm trying to keep up with everything else. And so we've gotten a lot of practice on the cleaning up game, and I think that's a skill set that everyone should have in their belt.
Absolutely.
That said,
Nerd.
don't go buy a cheap culture and then like, you know.
Well, I mean, you still need your base genetics and stuff, but like contamination is something that can be worked through sometimes. Not always. Liquid culture makes it difficult. So
I just don't want to advise it as a justification for it.
Well, right. Fair enough. But I feel like people are going to justify it. Are going to justify it no matter what. So
yeah.
My favorite quote
True.
from Oprah: "When you don't know what to do, wait. I also try not to make decisions when tired, depressed, or drunk. Haven't had that problem for 6 years." Well, hey, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, man. But
It
yeah,
is.
that's a way to go. Halt. Wait equals hungry, angry, tired, lonely. Yeah. I actually have a rule in the laboratory. We don't work in the lab. We have a thing that we go through. Are you emotional? Don't work in the lab. Are you hungry, thirsty? Don't work in the lab. Do you need to poop? Don't work in the lab. Like there's all these things. Like, do not go into the lab to work if you need to use the bathroom, eat, or any of that stuff. Take care of all of that stuff so we
Or
can go in
fart
there
or sneeze.
or fart or sneeze. Do not fart or sneeze in my lab. Only I'm allowed to fart and sneeze in the lab. No, it's used to my microbiota.
Uh-huh.
No, that's good. I hug mushrooms. Yeah, me too. Really appreciate your love for preservation. Thank you. Yeah, it's part. It's like preservation. It's preservation, but also the working with. Like, I'm really excited in the new sequences. So preservation is a really big on my heart, but in part because, like, I found in a Agaricon 2 Octobers ago. Took the GPS tag. I'm like the only person that I know of that knows where it's at, and it was at least 40 years old, like 35 to 40 years old.
If we saw it, somebody else probably has seen it.
Probably, but to be fair, we were kind of walking around looking for stuff. So, and it's in the old growth. But one of the exciting things is, like Paul Stamets was talking about, old Saint Stamets. The idea is that if we get these antivirals, get the Department of Defense interested in antivirals research through old growth forest fungus, then that can be a piece of, hey, we should save this as a matter of national security, because apparently ecological preservation isn't enough to motivate people. So, it's, I like this idea of like, okay, well, if I'm going to bioprospect for new genetic sequences to use for people and that people find useful, that will also preserve the genetics. Then we get to save fungal diversity, find fungal diversity, so we get to map it. So if I take samples, take pictures, the GPS thing, do an iNaturalist thing, iNaturalist listing, I then dry a sample, send it off to the Ohio Fungal Diversity Lab, have them sequence it. That gets that sequence paired with iNaturalist. The citizen science is increased, so we have the preservation of the genetics, preservation of the information, and then we have the useful preservation, the use of the genetics later on. At a time of our choosing. So,
well, what's cool too is there's so many programs where you can overlay like the scheduled burn fires. You can overlay logging that's happened and replanting and everything else, and you can actually kind of in elevation and all that, you can kind of map out little honey holes where potentials are, and then look at creek beds and flooding areas, whether creeks have risen or there's been a drought and that area didn't get any water. What kind of other things have popped up in its place during that stagnation or growth? And so it's just you learn so much more from all of that. And it goes all the way down to the flora and the fauna, and on top of the fungus and the bacteria and everything else. Like, it's just being able to learn more about your world.
Oh yeah. By the way, John, pee break. I did not go pee that time. I don't know if you guys have noticed. No coffee.
I got a drink.
I had a liquid death that I
break.
finished, but I started that liquid death like 2 hours ago, so I just barely finished it. So I'm here making sure that I don't have to go pee every 5 seconds by not drinking a bunch of stuff. I will go when we leave here. When I get off here, I'm going to take Samantha out for dinner, because that's our Valentine's Day night is tonight, because we're going to have Valentine's Day with my family tomorrow. We celebrate it as a big family affair. But tonight we'll go out and eat and get some spaghetti and a wedge salad or something like that, perhaps. And I'll drink some really, really glorious cider and a black moss from the Mad Ox. So, that kind of stuff. And
Andrew's mama came up with a really sweet tradition, which is, pizza, and you have a piece of my heart, and, Yep. But
Note on the chicken. Studies have reported that dietary inclusion of spent mushroom substrate can improve the balance of gut microflora in laying hens, increasing beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus species and bifidobacterium species, while reducing harmful bacteria such as Clostridium species and E. coli. I've heard some of this, especially with turkey tail. I've heard turkey tail so far studied is the one that influences gut bacteria, even in humans and mammal species. In a bigger direction than almost any other mushroom, but I think that all kinds of mushrooms probably actually influence it. Like LC Master, when you're labeling your LC or agar, it will have a special. Yeah. What was your question? Your question was.
So our LC agar plates.
Can anyone point me in the direction to learn more why Andrew marks some with Master and what he might mark others? Okay, so that is really when you're talking the LC Master. That is, it's gone from agar to LC. So usually when I've got an agar stuff, it's either a slant or a dish that is like only one generation away from a slant. And so the idea is that I don't want to produce enzyme blindness by feeding my liquid culture sugar. And so
we grade the transfers.
We grade the transfers. So about every 500 milliliters is considered a transfer. So we go from a 500 milliliter to 1,000 milliliter. That'll actually be one transfer to 2 transfers, right? And we try not to go beyond a certain amount because I want you guys to be able to stretch the LC out. When it leaves me, I don't want it to be anemic. I want it to be potent. I want it to be powerful, and I want it to be young so that you can take it and stretch it as far as you can possibly stretch it, right? So that's one of the reasons why, we go through a lot of care for our stuff, but that's why I label it Master. And then I'll label it LC to LC transfer ×1, ×2, ×3, whatever.
Well, and those lot numbers feed into the new, and they also record the old. So every time you get a lot number in our notes, we have what's previous to it and the transfer. And when we put things back, like we can trace it all the way back to, golly, there's some stuff we've had since 2008.
Yeah. If you call if a problem with one of our LCs, you call with a batch number, we can trace it back to the slant.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, if it's wild, I can trace it all the way back to its GPS coordinates.
And who found it?
And who found it? Nowadays, I've had to really put a stopper in not note taking because that I've stuff at a certain point. I've got great notes, and then everything before that is just lost to the darkness. So
I will say, folks that email and say, hey, I'm sending you this. They send pictures. We have their email and their name. Hey, I'm so-and-so. We're actually planning on having like a Mycology page where you can enter in all that stuff. And then, Yeah, the
idea will be that you guys get to fill out the information, send it to us, send the sample to us, and we'll already have the information. And then eventually I'd like to automate it to where it directly goes to the database and makes a listing for me.
And I was really hoping that maybe there's some grants for this or something that could potentially help pay for postage. Or
certainly say that we can make some. We can find some, I'm sure. Also, for instance, a study found that diets containing brown seaweed and spent oyster mushroom substrate enhanced overall growth performance and slaughter weight in Bosch-felled roosters. Interesting.
I'm getting excited because Brittany's getting excited. And it's so obvious, like the love for her, for the birds.
Yep.
Oh, and she says, sorry, birds, my jam. We can tell. And I'm here for it. It's
I love
awesome.
birds, yeah. I'm all about it. The problem is all the life sciences are so interesting that really I should have been an ecologist because I could studied all of it. Because I also like the abiotic stuff, chemistry and stuff. Earth Angels mushrooms came up with the name Master Mix. Yeah, T.R. Davis of Earth Angels came up with the name Master's Mix for
and I can remember
the 50-50 sawdust and soy. Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember whenever he did that. I can remember whenever we all had the Paul Stamets books where you can go back into the index and you can see all like the little ratios of things, and people were throwing out recipes all over the place. And TR definitely and probably still does has a nice focus on tweaking things just ever so slightly and finding that perfect Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, he's pretty well nowadays. He's pretty much in my talkie, and I think that's about it. I think his wife comes from an agaricus grower family in Brazil. So I know that he really got into that, where he was producing A lot of stuff for, I don't know if he was shipping to Brazil or no, he was having stuff receiving from Brazil from facilities there for a while. Ecological Project says, have you used hypochlorous acid for sterilization? It's been a game changer. 10 times the strength of bleach, and it's skin safe. Plus, you can generate it on your own with electrolyzer, salt, or water. I have not used it. I don't use bleach either for sterilization of my substrates and things.
We do use a 5% bleach solution to clean with.
Yeah, to clean stuff with, but we don't use it for sterilization. I use heat sterilization. I trust heat. I like heat sterilization, so I go with heat sterilization. But they're a breed. Oh, you mean the Boschfelds? They're a breed of meat chicken. Mushroom waste compost can accelerate adipolysis and enhance antioxidant capacity, contribute to better health and feed conversion rates. So
my family always really likes the
Jacob said time to be a good plant. So he's about to fire a bunch of questions. That's interesting, Brittany.
Boy, he did. I see it.
Jacob, in your case, if you're nomadic, you got to be a good sheep or a good goat. I don't know.
Greatest of all time. I like goat.
So
Everybody
Shing,
can be a goat.
I did a ton of research on it. Well, I have a regenerative farm and love close. I'm with you on that.
That's cool.
Sometimes I'm like, man, I feel like a commodity farmer sometimes. But the good news is I still do a lot of stuff for the environment. So get a room of about 900 cubic feet, house 192 10-pound blocks weekly, and stay there for 4 weeks. Air conditioned and the exhaust is able to move all the air within 900 cubic foot house. You mean grow room? Or do you mean incubation space? Do you mean all of it, like the lab, etc., everything? Or just the grow room? Let me see what I can find here.
So we have 4 rows in our grow room. And each row will stay in there at a 4-week cycle. Because each week we take one wall out, deep clean it, and then turn around and plant it. And then the next week we do the second wall, and the next, and so on and so forth. And we normally go through like first and second flushes, pretty easy that way.
Okay, so I have a 11 by 20, so that's only 220 square feet. And I do, you said I'm in the grow room, I can do 168 blocks per week. So I can do, in my 220 square foot grow room, I can do 600 and, that's not right, because it's supposed to be 700 and something. So I can do 700 and something blocks. So 192 weekly. 192 week. I mean, yeah, at 900 cubic feet, I would imagine so. But 192 is 768. So yeah, I mean, you're talking way bigger than my grow room, and able to house 768 blocks, which is just barely over what mine I think normally does.
Yeah,
so,
but back in the day, we had 2 full grow rooms going. We had built enough room for 3 total to be in use, and then we just use one of them. Mm-hmm. And in fact, our 3rd grow room is our podcast room.
Yeah,
and the 2nd grow room is the incubation room now.
Yeah, because we closed down the grow rooms, but other than the one, how do we prevent the mushroom bag pinning too much from the top side of the bag? And I'm sorry, I can't read those characters. I don't know how to pronounce any of that. But how do we prevent mushroom bag pinning too much from the top side of the bag? Usually it's just a plant earlier. To plant it before it happens. If you get it, then I usually just cut the bag on the side to side fruit and then slam it on the shelf so that it squishes all that stuff. But you can use the black bags. Yeah, I think Unicorn makes the black bags, but then you can't. I don't like those because you can't see stuff. So, any fun Valentine's Day stories while mushroom farming? Let's see. Fun Valentine's Day stories? We don't really do a lot. Like, Samantha and I have never been good about holidays. Like, Samantha and I,
every day is a special day.
Every day is a special day. Like,
that's something I pulled from my family, like, that we brought into our family.
My family likes to make a big deal of holidays. And so my mom, you can always count on her to try to make you feel special on, like, your special day. But, like, birthdays, Christmas.
And then your dad is like gung ho, like he's toting in presents.
Yeah, so I came from a family that even though we were pretty poor growing up, we didn't want for food or anything. But Dad started his business, and it was pretty pretty tight for a little while, they always made sure, like Dad would play music on the weekends to make money, and he'd bring in, that would be the Christmas present money or something like that. So vacation money, we'd go rent a hotel room in Gatlinburg for a night or two. Just go there overnight, which is like a touristy place, but it's just like a 30-40 minute drive away. We'd go up there, and Dad would take us to go play mini golf, the arcade, that kind of stuff. While my mom, she'd get like some time to herself to go read and sit by the pool, that kind of stuff. So,
whereas my family would see that as quite extravagant,
frivolous, yeah.
And yeah, frivolous is probably good. We're like little squirrels, so we just kind of pack things away, and you try to make every day special in some way or another. And not saying that your family doesn't, but it's talking about kind of relationships and the love that we have, and things that we've learned from our parents' relationships, and just how much they give. And it's Valentine's Day in general is not something that my family celebrated.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have to hit a sponsor, so we'll be right back. Imagine a world where the most unique, rare, and powerful mushroom strains are preserved, studied, and shared with growers like you. That's exactly what we're building with the Mycology, a living archive of fungal biodiversity, sourced from the wild, expanded in the lab, and made available for researchers, growers, and curious minds alike. But here's the best part. You can be a part of it. If you're a bioprospector, a forager, or just someone who loves finding cool mushrooms in the wild, you can send in your samples. If you send me in a wild mushroom and I can successfully clone it, I'll send you back a cleaned up culture of it. If you send me a culture that you've already cleaned up yourself, I'll send you one for our library, ready to grow, experiment with, or add to your collection. That's right. Culture for culture. You help expand the library, and you get something amazing in return. The goal? To preserve fungal diversity, to give people access to new genetics, and maybe, just maybe, to discover something truly groundbreaking. So if you've got an interesting mushroom, a rare find, or a strain that deserves a place in the archives, send it in. Let's build something incredible together. The Mycology, preserving fungal biodiversity, one culture at a time. Want to learn more? Hit us up, shoot us a message, and let's keep spawning culture, y'all. I like that music. Welcome back. Samantha had an addendum to the Valentine's Day that she wanted to give you, Jake.
Oh, I accidentally lied. So there toward high school, Dad would get me a dozen roses for Valentine's Day. And in fact, and my mom. And then, in fact, the rose petals from those are sprinkled in the foundation of the house. And so...
Mm-hmm. Forgot about that. Yeah, like when they poured the concrete, you and Glenda spread your dried rose petals in there. Yeah.
And like going out to the park or going out swimming or going out fishing, I think a part of what Andrew and I have brought to kind of special occasions, instead of a bunch of gifts, we try to do experiences. And memories. That's kind of a big thing on my side.
Like we haven't done it yet, but Christmas for the kids this year, like the Christmas presents, we're going to go visit one of the like Ruby Falls, which is like a waterfall in a cave, or the Forbidden Sea, or we haven't picked which one that the kids get to pick. I'm voting for the Forbidden Sea. I want to go kayak on the lake in the cave. But if they don't pick that one, they pick the other ones, then I'll do that one later. So
I'm really grateful.
I'm going to take some swabs with me too, and swab some areas for Everyman Bio.
I'm really grateful, and I feel so fortunate and lucky to have married into such a good family and to have been brought up and raised with specific sentiments. And while we, maybe I know a lot of couples are real big into it, and you get like, what is it, every 2 years, or
I
don't quote me on this, but it's like paper and then leather and then
thinking
something blue. Yeah, I guess, but like, and
that's another
like
one
a big ring or diamonds or a necklace or something like that. It's just it's not really something that we do.
Yeah, we're not.
I will say that one of the Valentine's days for the restaurants, we grew pinks, and I thought it was hilarious that we had a whole grow room just full of pink oysters. I think that's the first time I'd ever had realized how smelly they were.
Oh, the pink oysters? Yeah.
There's
For
nothing
sure.
like having an entire grow room full
Crap,
of pink
I
oysters.
forgot about that too.
What?
Keep talking.
Oh.
I forgot about the pink oysters. They went live on the website today.
Nice.
Or yesterday, but
Yeah, so speaking of,
the Australian pink hasn't gone live yet.
we do have a few pinks now, and we've grown them out, and we've got a lot of photos. And there's some that are a dark pink, and some that are coming in that are like a really light.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. He may only
Pink.
have. Oh, he's not got them up yet. Never mind.
Shh.
Okay,
You
I lied.
got a head.
We just have pink oyster, but not the two different pinks.
Well, maybe I can stick them up there and help get them.
Yeah, we'll do it next week. So, crap, I wanted those out for Valentine's. Anyways, keep talking.
But just, the sentiments and traditions and things. I think they married well, and we married well, and I think we marry our traditions well.
Mary, quite contrary.
Don't be
Well,
contrary.
What are those pinning in the background? There shouldn't be anything pinning in the background, but
Oh,
if you
no.
mean those,
Oh, the shiitake.
that's shiitake. Those over there are shiitake. These are
A mix of
some of them
a
are
bunch of other
bunch
stuff.
of stuff. It's experimental
There's like
rack.
gold and
There's-
enoki and
There is shiitake right. This is okay. Right here. This is shiitake. I know this is the Jupiter strain from Field and Forest. I know that one. But the rest of them are all experimental stuff. So
yeah, those are popcorning over there. They're
Mhm.
not quite.
well, they're browning now. They're done popcorning and browning, and then these over here are. Greet that.
It's
Those over
flipped.
there are just starting to popcorn now. Who is your biggest mushroom hero?
Mine is this guy right here.
Stop it. You can grovel later. Mushroom hero. There's a lot, and there's a lot. I know a lot of people like to shit on him, but Paul Stamets was really my introduction to mushrooms, like he was so many of ours.
Do people really?
People
Crap on that?
people crap on him quite a bit, yeah.
Aw.
Let's see. Let me think for a moment. Oh,
You're
are
frozen.
we frozen? We seem to be frozen.
Oh no.
That's okay. It's okay. We can
Frozen
probably
in
fix
time.
it. Let's see. Is it frozen for you guys? Is it?
Yeah, Jake said, "Is the video input frozen?"
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
I don't know if people can still hear the audio or not. Okay. We can hear you though.
Yeah. You can hear me. Give me a second. I can try this. So mushroom heroes. Let me think for a sec.
Turn it off and on again.
What I'm doing. Let me plug it back in.
Beatrix Potter is another one that I really like.
Oh, I know how to fix this. Okay, guys, give me 1 second. The sound will probably go quiet for 1 second, but give me just a moment. Maybe goodbye.
Oh no.
Bam.
Sad day.
Oh,
I wonder what happened.
the power's not on. Yeah, check and make sure. Track that down because they should be able to hear me now. All right, give me 1 second. We've got the. All right, actually, you talk about Beatrix Potter. I'll be right back.
Okay. Speaking of Beatrix Potter, did you guys know that she bred sheep? ASMR time. No freaky stuff. Oh gosh, you guys. Oh man. But yeah, Andrew oftentimes will talk of my love of AI, and it's because here recently I've been goofing around with it and chit-chatting and talking and just throwing some weird, crazy, insane ideas at it. And I fed it, I started asking it about Beatrix Potter and all of the children's books that she wrote. And it went through and it was talking about how, and one of the things I asked.
I think one of us kicked the power.
I kicked the power?
No, one of us kicked it to the switchboard.
Power kicked itself. Oh, say what?
Anyways, keep talking.
Oh, what was I? What is it? A cease of the blind man? But one of the things I asked it was that did it think that any of her books were reflected by the hardships in her life?
Hold on, we're going to go quiet for one more second. Ha-ha! Ha-ha! Success! All right.
Good job.
Andrew, do not put your foot there again. All right, so sorry about that. That was bad design. Were you still in your thing, or do I need to go back to the Mushroom Heroes? Or
well, that was what we were talking about, was the Mushroom Heroes, and I was talking about Beatrix Potter and just sort of some of the things that I was asking AI, because you had mentioned earlier how much fun I was having with it, and it's in part because I'm trying to write a children's book, and then I was just using AI to help me
become invigorated,
inspired, to help me with the organization and layout of it, to see what its process and what kind of information it was pulling from. And I've always really admired Beatrix Potter, in part because of all the hardships that she went through, but how she facilitated all of those lessons into the children's books that she wrote. And one of Andrew's treasures is a whole set of Beatrix Potter books that I then read to our children. Was it your grandmother that bought them for you?
Yeah, Grandma Reed bought me the box.
So his grandmother bought them for him, and then
Tale of Jeremy Fisher, still one of my favorites.
Yeah, and then we kept them, and then we read them to our children. And I'm hoping. I don't know if our children are listening. Aislinn probably is. I'm hoping to be able to write something kind of similar based on our adventures and based on lessons that we've learned, that our children can then, not only would they receive, because it's like, okay, you have this one set and you have 3 children. How do you copy it amongst them? So if we write our own, then we can give 3 sets to our children, and then they can read that to our grandchildren.
I love the stuff that where we have all the micro printing. When I mean micro printing, I mean like that you can order a single book in an affordable cost. Is that the dog?
Yeah.
Okay. I just can't hear it well with the headphones.
It's not an alarm bark, though. It's more like a playful.
Yeah. When it comes to Mushroom Heroes, Chris, so like I said, Paul Stamets was kind of the one that got me in here. I can't go without saying Hugh Brewer was the guy who took me under his wing locally.
Oh, yeah.
Hugh, I don't think is even growing mushrooms. Heck, I don't even know if Hugh's alive. Last I saw him, I came over to buy some stuff from him because he was moving. I mean, when I last saw him, he's getting pretty old. So, I don't know. Like, I've not talked to him, and it's probably been oh my gosh, it's been probably a year and a half, 2 years. So, like I said, I'm not even sure if he's alive, but
I'll talk about someone who lived off of Pepsis and nicotine.
Cigarettes. I love Hugh to death. I don't know how he lived. He would talk about eating mushrooms. I never saw the man eat a solid bit of food. And the entire time I was with him, every time I saw him, he was drinking a Pepsi and smoking a cigarette and had that crazy, wild, white hair and just, he just bobbed to his own music all the time. There was Hugh, there's a bunch of other people who started stuff. Like, I've got heroes that I've met some of my heroes, like now Alan Rockefeller is kind of a mushroom hero to me. there's so many people that I could mention of people that I admire their work. So I'm not sure if you're asking whose work I admire or like who's a mushroom hero in like the like in my mythos kind of thing, like my mushroom career mythos or whatever. There's a lot of people doing some really good work, like people that I admire greatly. There's a lot of people who when I look at their work, I feel inferior. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that like I'm not crapping on myself or anything like that. I just mean like there's always people who make you feel inferior, even though you got your own style, you got your own thing going on. So Jasmine Richardson working with truffles, Dr. Oman of the North Carolina's A&T.
Oh yeah.
William Alfonso Murrell from the 1800s.
There's so many. Like that is just.
Yeah, he was a polypore expert, but ran the herbarium for the that really nice big science museum up in New York. Whatever, Natural Sciences, New York Museum of Natural Sciences or something like that. I don't remember, but he.
Talking about the Smithsonian, or
maybe, probably. I don't know. I can't remember now what he ran. And then he was in Florida, and he went to Florida because mushroom hunting was better in Florida, and because you could do it like all year or whatever. And then basically near the end of his life, he just like couch surfed in college dorms. And then people would he would forget to eat. He forgot to talk to his wife for like 3 years. He was so. I'm obsessive, but I still want a family. I look at like Alan Rockefeller, and he makes me feel inferior when it comes to mycology. But then I remember Alan's obsessive, and he doesn't have a family to feed. So if you're going to have a family and have that kind of legacy, you got to sacrifice some of the obsessiveness. I could go down the rabbit hole and be obsessive. I have that kind of personality, but I also love. I also want to be. I want to be a father and a grandfather and things like that. So.
And then that is something that's been brought to our attention a few times, and people have asked: is you've sacrificed a lot in order to have children, and I don't sacrifice. I don't feel like is really quite the right word, but
I feel like it's the right word but anything can be a sacrifice, and it's not a negative connotation to say that we've sacrificed. But we sacrifice daily to work. I sacrifice time to work out. Is that really a sacrifice? It makes my life better. You know what I mean? So. But in fact, there's a beautiful article called "All Training is Sacrifice," and it talks about it takes the mythology of the Nordic mythology of Odin's eye, how he sacrificed that to be able to see the future. But he talks about when he hung himself on the tree, it is all training is sacrifice. So if I go train jujitsu to get better at jujitsu, I'm putting on that daily sacrifice. You're hanging yourself on the tree or whatever to gain that knowledge. It's a great article. Blog post. I don't even know if it's still up on the internet, but yeah, Chris, there's a lot of mushroom heroes. Is this too many to count? I've got there's a war on ignorance, and so many heroes are fighting it.
Have you ever? I know we've experienced this where people have said, "Well, don't meet your heroes," and have you ever felt that where you're like, "Oh, I wish I didn't meet my," or you were disappointed in someone you admired?
No, but I feel like I also allow people to be themselves. I allow people to I'm not as judgy. I feel like a lot of times as I see some other people I have to work at it, of course. It doesn't make me better by any means, but I'm okay with my heroes being human and being flawed. I'm okay with Teddy Roosevelt, messing up and stuff. I'm okay with Ulysses Grant being a drunk. These are heroes of mine, but I'm okay with them being human. So I feel like when it comes to my mushroom heroes, I love and admire Paul Stamets. I disagree with a lot of what he says, and I disagree with some of his work. That said, those are just my opinions, and I'm still gonna love and respect the man for what he is. He's someone who has achieved a lot and brought mushrooms to a lot of people.
And you could probably argue that their shortcomings is what it can be what brought about their greatest achievements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. William Padilla Brown. I think that he does amazing work, but I don't think that he does a lot of. He doesn't do any groundbreaking mycological work, but he does amazing social gathering, ordering. Like he's able to gain a lot of followers and bring their attention to many, many things. So, is his contribution to mycology some groundbreaking science? Not necessarily, but it is that he brought. Like he's literally got shit tons of people followers on social media who are introduced to these concepts, and that's what that's his real groundbreaking stuff. I feel like is that he's managed to build quite the following.
I think that's an important distinction. Honestly, I sit there and think about some of the philosophers, and then some of the individuals that go into the actual chemistry of the brain and the psychology and even psychiatry behind the treatments of certain things. And there's the technical side, and then there's the meaning and kind of pushing toward a specific ideal side too.
Mm. Yeah, so I mean, like, people are gonna be human. That's it. Like, that's the problem. Like, none of us are gods. None of us are angels, right? So, like, and even then, like, if you look at most mythology, gods are not perfect the way like Yahweh is supposed to be perfect, right? Like most of the Nordic gods, the Greek gods, all these stories they're messed up people. Like they are horribly messed up. So by comparison, humans are pretty good.
Some of the mythology on the Norse stuff, especially like Loki, whenever he's a horse and then he
gets pregnant.
Man, and it has to deal with the fallout of all that.
That's a good point. You know why he does that? To trick somebody out of a deal they made. They made a deal.
They made it so much.
They made a deal that they were not willing to pay, and Loki tricked the guy's horse, so the guy couldn't finish the job, and the deal would be broken. So they cheated. Like that's a horrible story, in my opinion. Yeah. It's a horrible story. Yeah, they gained from it. And maybe that's the moral of the story is the rich are going to gain through lies sometimes. Not saying all rich people lie by any means. I know plenty of rich, honest people. I know honest people, poor and rich, and I know liars, poor and rich. But
yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to that, like I'd have to really think about that. Trad Cotter did some really great work. I don't really like the direction he's gone now, but his book is still to me full of novel concepts that need to be iterated on. Ed Grand is a great example. I think Ed's one of the heroes of the mushroom world who is really working in the genetics, and he's obviously educating people. He spends a lot of time educating people for free. That's an immense value to the community. There are people who micropreneur. I freaking love micropreneurs Instagram and all that hilarious stuff he does. I don't know the guy personally at all, but yeah, so like there's 1,000 million mushroom heroes in my opinion. So same with the note taking. I'm forever on the hunt for databases of all sorts. Chris Moses is your favorite mushroom hero? I'm down. Yeah, checking in from St. Louis, Missouri. I didn't know Chris Stapleton grew mushrooms. I was laughing about that one earlier. Love the show. Thank you. I'm at the grow room. Okay, yeah, so I did answer that. What crop would you consider for food that is stackable and grow, and you can grow on a big scale in a very small space? PCS asking about the mushrooms. So plant tissue culture, I was talking about some stuff earlier. Plant Cell Tech is now an affiliate of mine. So if you use code Mossy with Plant Cell Technology, go through their website, you get 10% off. And I do get a kickback from that. But I am working with some of this stuff because I want to work with, I've got some ideas for food products that could be direct derivatives of plant tissue culture. I'm thinking ramps that are grown as callus tissue that are grown in aerated bioreactors. So we can make ramp caviar, this ramp tissue that should hopefully still have the taste. Ginseng roots grown in bioreactors, that kind of stuff. So there's that kind of thing. There's microgreens. There are food products, snails, which I know is one that a lot of people probably wouldn't like, but mystery snails, apple snails, are eaten a lot. I've heard they've been eaten a lot in Thailand. Maybe Ed could tell us that, but they're grown right there in the rice paddies. They keep the rice plants clean of algae and things like that, and then they come up to lay their eggs, and then people catch them. They're tasty. So aquatic snails, any sort of thing aquaculture can stack. The question is whether you can feed it and then recoup your value. But aquatic plants can be grown. There's a lot of food crops that can be stacked indoors. When would you consider LC to be fully grown in? Usually about if you're whipping it really well, like with the new Man of War stir plates, I can get them in like 14, 20 days.
I
I've got
am
it
super
done.
Impressed. I've been blown away, honestly, by those.
Mm-hmm. How long does a gallon jar? It depends on how much I inoculate it with, but 10 milliliters, about 10, like I said, 14 to 20 days. This commercial's awesome. Oh, the Mycology commercial. Thank you. Did you mean send it in? Oh crap! Did I say something wrong? Crap! I hope I didn't say something wrong. I'm going to watch that commercial again. Tracy, thanks for letting me farm some Valentine's ideas. Great show. I'll be back. Have a good evening. Absolutely. We're about to end it, guys. It's about 3 hours, and I want to take Samantha out for dinner. So it may be Maddox, it may be Waffle House, it may be whatever. But I guess that depends on who orders what on the website before we go.
Wow.
Go get you some golden oyster. That's 30% off already, and use our code for 20% off. That code, you guys remember it? I better do it. 20% discount, MycoLove20. That does stack with the golden oysters that are on sale. So, get you some. Let's see. Froze. We can hear you loud and clear. What are the average biological efficiencies for 2 flushes of master mix for oysters and other gourmet mushrooms, considering all ideal conditions and community? That is largely influenced by genetics. It's going to be all over the place. It depends on what strain you're working with. There are some of the best amazing textured mushrooms I've ever had, or sometimes the worst producing as far as weight goes, but they're huge mushrooms. But what I would say is on a 12-pound block, I expect to get at least 2 pounds of mushrooms on my oysters on my first flush. If I'm happy and lucky and doing everything great, especially my hericiums, I expect about 3 pounds. We had some nice ones come off that were 3.8 pounds or something like that fairly recently. So, question about pinning too much on the top of the bag. Do you just fold the top and put it upside down when it's almost all white? We usually fold the bag, the flap, like we bleed all the air out, fold the flap down, lay it on its side with the flap underneath it, and then cut on the sides of the fret. So we cut on the side first so that you can squeeze the air out.
And we put all of ours kind of horizontal, and I like it because on our shelving you can put 5 blocks horizontally across, and then if you have a gigantic flush and it wants to tip, the other stuff will kind of tension hold it, and then you have 3 sides. Honestly, and you've got 3 sides that are covered by the wall, each other. It's not likely to pin that way, and it kind of forces the flush to go toward the light and the humidity in the front. And I do really like that.
Oh man, AI gave me a recipe for making cinnamon rolls in the crock pot today. It came out of oh my gosh, I might need to ask AI then, because
or maybe you can share that recipe with us.
Crock pot cooking is my favorite cooking.
Well, I use AI for notes and to store ideas.
We should just make a pot of rice to go with the deer roast.
Let's do that.
Deer and mushroom roast.
Absolutely.
How long does it usually take you to grow your shiitake, like from inoculation to fruit? That's another big question. So there are strains that are standardized on 8 weeks. There are strains that are standardized on 12 weeks. Right now, I'm going through a bunch of outdoor strains, and I'm testing them at 8 weeks. 8 weeks, 12 weeks. What's the 16 weeks? I think is the next one. But I'm testing those at different ones. Some of them are producing like Snowcap from Field and Forest. That one's producing in the grow room really well after that cold snap. And it's fruiting really well. Native Harvest, another one from Field and Forest, is popping like crazy. And that one was at the 60-day mark or so the 8-week mark. 3782 is an 8-week strain. 3790 is a 12-week strain. But that, again, it's going to depend on your inoculum, your temperature, your airflow, all of that.
Try not to sniffle and yawn in front of
Tale of Two Bad Mice.
In everyone's ear.
Oh, Tale of Two Bad Mice. Good.
Okay, so this is an example of how I use AI. I told it to compile all the data of all of Beatrix Potter's life ordeals or hardships or essentially all of her gains, through the pains kind of thing. And on the Tale of Two Bad Mice, because I saw your comment ahead of time, it basically, I also told it to tell me the meaning of each one and how it correlated with her life events, because I'm trying to understand, how she approached writing her books and kind of trying to put myself in her shoes, and then how can I implement that with Andrew and I and our lessons that we've learned through our relationship over the years through running the farm. And it's just so she wrote that in 1904. Did they put that on there? It was written during that year?
Who?
The comment?
Nobody said anything about a year at all.
Okay. So it was saying that the main characters were Tom Thumb and Hunka Munka, the two mice. And then the summary is the mice vandalize a doll's house out of frustration when they discover the food is fake, and they later feel remorse and make amends. So the moral of the story is understanding the consequences of destructive behavior and the importance of making restitutions. And then so it says that in the connection to Potter's life, this story was written during a period of significant change for Potter. In 1905, she faced the loss of her fiancé, Norman, and shortly after she purchased the Hilltop Farm in the Lake District. I think that's where she was doing the breeding on the sheep. I'm not entirely sure.
She was actually a brilliant scientist.
Oh, yeah. And then the moral and personal reflection is the tale explores themes of domesticity, rebellion, social hierarchies. Some scholars suggest it reflects Potter's own desires and anxieties about establishing her own home and navigating her independence during this transformative period.
So you use it to kind of help order thoughts and work through that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but to just take sheer amount of data and just kind of
bullet point it.
Yeah, bullet point it for me, exactly. And then I'll often say, okay, based on my notes and the data you collected, here are the correlations that I see. What do you see? And then I'll see something beyond my own conception of it. And I really like that. And oftentimes I'll go and have a conversation with Andrew, and we'll get excited about something. And I'll see his perspective. Well,
sauna time's like one of the few times we actually get to.
Yeah, sauna time is our discussion time, and we have friends that come over and do sauna too, and sometimes Andrew will be a trooper and he'll do 2 sauna sessions just so he can have some time with me.
It can be pretty rough. Can you roll on the mat on shrooms? I have seen people do it, but I would imagine it depends on dosage. So I don't know. I'm not the person to ask about dosing and stuff. I've not done that a lot. Well, I appreciate your war on ignorance quote. I honestly think there's too much misinformation nowadays. That's something I've told my kids, is that you are in the age of too much. And so, whereas when I was first growing up, it was like, how do you find the information you need? Now it's like there's so much information, you need to figure out how to be a good filter. Not meaning political at all, just say we live in the information age of the trial. That's just the nature of it. There's always noise. So the channels have just developed. The ecosystem has matured. I think we just have to be more responsible to do our due diligence. Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. Y'all are my mushroom hero. Showed me that country boys with microscopes can study and farm these fascinating organisms. I know we're trying to be quick, and I will be quick about this, but I will say that there was this redneck when I was going to college who was always around, and he would like put together all the stuff. So we'd do lab. He would be the person to come through and put everything out on the tables for everybody. He would arrange everything. He would do all the sterilization of agar and do all that kind of stuff. He's actually the one that taught me that you can sterilize agar in a microwave, a dish at a time, and that's how I first started. Actually, when I was growing mushrooms, I was sterilizing in the microwave. But we were out in the field, and people would just kind of like ignore him, or like look down on him. And I loved this guy. Like, he was awesome. He was sharp as hell, but he had that country accent, and he wore that camouflage jacket and muck boots, and I drove that truck, And so people would say stuff, and somebody said something in front of the professor one time, and they're like, she said, "Oh, you mean Dr. So-and-so?" And they're like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, he's way more highly," my professor was like, "He's way more highly educated than me." And they're like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's one of the, but it just goes to show you, like, my grandfather and one of his partners at work, they were both chemical engineers. My grandfather was one of the top polymer engineers in the country, working on projects like creating some of the polymer that coats the stealth bombers and things like that. Worked on private projects for companies, like creating flesh-colored pantyhose and things like this, like all kinds of stuff. But he was a polymer engineer in particular during the age where polymer was the big thing. And they were at the Appalachian Homecoming Festival, and they were dressed in their overalls, felt hats, corncob pipes. And this woman comes over with her kid, and she's like, "You better do your work, or you're going to end up like them." And then they walked away, and my dad's or my grandfather's partner looked at him and went, "What? Highly educated and wealthy?" So it just goes to show you, yeah, man, like country boys absolutely can do it. It's not at all. Again, I really hate this when people, they start learning it, and so they start using all the terminology. And it was why you see me a lot of times, like I'll use the terminology and then I'll define it. And that's usually because I want you guys to learn. I'm not here to build myself up most of the time. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I want to be built up. Sometimes I want to be the guy, the cool guy. But really what it comes down to is I want to be a vessel for learning. And so if I know something and I can help you learn something, I want to make sure that I'm that. And I want to try to keep a humble attitude about it. So that's one of the big things, right? Like I'm here in the South. I'm here in the foothills with all the other rednecks. I mean, you got to think, man, rednecks have been the ones doing distillation science for hundreds of years at this point. So, there you go about that. So I spent a lot of time when I had to go to the library to get books to find stuff out and have them brought in from other libraries.
Man, you're talking about someone who worked in archives.
Yes.
And, oh gosh, the amount of
Smith knows a little bit about that. Hello again, Andrew Samantha. Hey, Spore Muse, what's going on? Dennis from Mycology. Yeah, he's so funny. He's so fun. Not everything is this comedic gold as some of the other stuff he does, but some stuff, oh my gosh, I'll be rolling. Agree, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am in the mycology journey without Ed. It has taught me. He's a sharp fellow, man. Thank you, Andrew. You're one of my heroes also. I'm sure everyone is a hero to somebody. By the way, I was making you guys pants swabs for you as I said that low. That's fantastic. I'm interested in seeing what that does. Thoughts on Peter McCoy? You asked that before. You really want me to answer this one. You asked that last week, I think. Or maybe it was the week before. I don't know Peter. I don't know him. I don't know anything about him. I assume he hates my guts just based on politics.
because you said you didn't like the queendom.
Well, yeah, because look, it's no surprise to a lot of people that I'm fairly conservative. I mean, I come from a really conservative. I'm a raging liberal compared to the people around me. But if I go anywhere else in the country, I'm a conservative. I'm actually very politically moderate, and I consider every issue on a case-by-case basis. I don't follow political lines. So that said, I think Peter does. So I don't know. But that's me saying that without ever having met the man. I will say that his book has been seminal in its education. The artwork is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a tome of knowledge. And
tome is a good word. I think it's thick.
It is beefy. He threw everything in the kitchen sink in there. And I think that if we're judging someone based on their works, then he's a freaking mushroom hero. Like not all of us have to agree on everything. Like, he may be the more mushrooms are cooperative, and I'm like, no, mushrooms are scary cordyceps creatures. And we are both right, that kind of thing. So as far as Peter goes, I can't judge a person without having met them. Having met people, I don't like judging people. Unless
we certainly don't like being judged.
And I don't like being judged. Yeah. And so, I would love to meet him. I'd love to shake his hand and thank him for his book. So that's what I think of him. If you want me to put it succinctly, I still wish my film had gotten into the film festival, but having watched the films that made it into the film festival, I get why mine didn't make it into the film festival.
To be fair, you found out about that. Did that in
week. I did
one
in
day.
A week. Yeah, well, a week. I took a week, but yeah. Got any recipes for blue oysters? I get really excited about one of my exotics popping out in my winter greenhouse. Honestly, man, when it comes to oysters, I just like fried oysters. That's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, my favorite way is getting them good and crispy and using them like mock croutons. I actually don't like croutons that much. Andrew will pile his salad higher.
Make my salad. If my salad was all croutons and bacon bits,
I'm actually surprised you don't make like a crouton base and then put the. You're like, I might now.
I'd get too sopping wet. No.
Oh, that's true.
Then they wouldn't be crunchy. That said, yeah, crunchy oysters on salad, crunchy oysters on steak, crunchy oysters on potatoes, oysters in anything, oysters rendered down in a crock pot. Like, I love it all. So, appreciated 3 sides tight to avoid pinning is a wonderful detail. Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that. It's always weird for me to have any amount of celebrity or to be called a hero. So while it's weird for me, thank you. Brittany, agree to both comments. Hence, information is more readily available. I'm going to go to the library, but I see so much bad information. That's the big thing is everyone has a voice now, and I love that. Not everyone is absolutely as careful about making sure they're right about things, and I don't love that.
But then you have the fact-checking thing, and then Andrew and I have had videos taken down just because we mentioned something, and it wasn't even in the context in which they took it down for. Like, I don't know. It was very strange. So there's dangers to all sides, to be honest.
The more in a niche hobby, program, industry, whatever that you're in, the more information is going to be incorrect about it. I feel like. So this is Wang. Do you do international knowledge exchange? I've heard that Chinese are growing Bushwaldo boletus. Xylophilus. I did not know they're growing that, but that's super interesting. Wang, I would love to know about that. International knowledge exchange. I mean, I'm always happy to talk to people. I mean, feel free to email me through the through the webpage, mossykreekmushrooms.com. What's the best way to store syringes? We do ours at room temperature. How long can they last? I've used syringes that are 3 years old and they still worked. I would not say that that's recommended, but a few weeks to a few months, usually I think they hold up just fine. As long as the sugar is eaten up, they should go into stasis pretty quick.
Well, that said, we do put more nutrition in our syringes than some of the
Well, we do in the liquid culture. We don't put it directly in the syringes, but yeah, like our LC is more nutritious, but it's usually
is in the syringes.
Everything is. You're right. I just mean that we don't add anything when it goes to the syringe state.
Oh, okay.
And the nutrition is mostly eaten up already, so there shouldn't be any spare nutrition that goes in our syringes. And so what the idea is that you don't want any nutrition in there, so the mushrooms go into stasis. And then they're sitting there. They've got some metabolite, a lot of healthy mycelium. And hopefully you get it pretty fresh, right? You don't want it sitting there, and you don't want to get the old stuff. So as fresh as possible, but you can store stuff for a pretty good while. Want to sign up for Patreon for Discord, but not quite use syringes yet. I understand. Just take your time, man. Take your time. One step at a time. Everything is good fried. Yes, everything's good fried for sure. All right, guys, we're through it. It's time to go. I've been at it. Andrew Rogan is now shut down. So I am, really appreciate Health Vacation to preserve nature, promote knowledge, and being so open to share. You guys are a super cute couple. Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you for being here. Well, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it.
20 years?
This year is 2025. So, yeah, this year will be our 20th year to get married.
It's 2005. Yeah, and then we dated 2 years before that.
Yep, so we've
22 years. Good job.
Yeah, good job. Holy crap. How in the hell did we make it?
One day at a time.
That's right. Hold on. I got to show that. Ed Grant is a hero to me. He's no afraid to be a human. And best of all, he teaches.
Oh,
there you go. Be authentically you guys. And with that, y'all, keep spawning culture. She didn't do it with me. Keep spawning culture, y'all.
Keep spawning. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Keep spawning culture, y'all.